Good morning, Grand Rising, everybody. Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity. I'm your host, Coach Renz. Happy Monday morning to all those in attendance. Looking forward to having a great conversation today about Sodom and Gomorrah. Family 60 said I will be on time for this one. That's cool. Family 60, how's the microphone? How's the sound? I got a new mic. Hopefully that'll trying to make things work better here, be more professional and all that stuff. We get the YouTube, the TikTok going here. The mic sounds great. Good. Thank you, Teresa, for letting me know. Thank you, Angelina, my bride, for letting me know. So we are ready to go live on TikTok as well. How you doing? Everybody? Eric, good. I'm glad it's sounding great. That is very important to the show. And TikTok is tripping a little bit, but we're going to get it right. I don't know why we tripping over here on TikTok. My prompt won't come up on TikTok. Let's see. We're having some problems here. Effects. Let's do this. Let's try it. I'm going to get to the retreat in just a moment. There we go. All right. So if this is your first time watching the show, whether you're watching it live or you're watching it on Memorex, then this channel is about deconstructing from Christianity and Christianity only. From time to time, we may talk about other religions, but most of the time and almost all the time, this is about deconstructing from Christianity. I hope everybody had a great weekend. In a little bit within the show, we will allow for people to come onto the show with their comments, commentary, or disagreements. But we go first order. We have the rules of the show are posted. If you wanted to come on, we do one person at a time. The host can interrupt you for clarity, but do not interrupt the host. Your belief in your testimony is not proof, and we do not do any proselytizing, no preaching whatsoever. So today we're going to talk about the Sodom and Gomorrah story, whether or not it is true or not. Did it happen? But the implications of this story has been literally deathly impactful in our society and the world society as we still stand. But before we go there, I gotta say, for those who had joined us for the meetup this past weekend, it was fantastic. We had a great time with the people who showed up. People traveled from East Coast. Most of the people who traveled from the East Coast are centrally located. So we had a great time. We talked a lot. We built a lot. I think the whole channel, the movement is better from it. It's definitely going to move better from it. I know that I personally gain value from meeting with the people, and I'll post pictures, make a video and post some pictures later on today and tomorrow. But I personally gain value in meeting some people that we see each other here in comments, but to meet people personally, to talk to people personally, to get on the dance floor personally was a good thing, was a great thing. We really enjoyed ourselves, whether when we was at the terrace level of the hotel because it was way too windy at the pool. Way too windy and a little nipply, a little cold near the pool area, but the terrace area was great. The free breakfast and free supper, and we didn't know I didn't know beforehand, but we got 3 free drinks a day as well at the hotel, and that was good. had one of the best Tom Collins I've ever had there. Devil's River for our initial meetup was great. Easily found seating. We got some good people watching. Some good people watching. We had great time going out. They had remodeled this one club, lounge called Midtown Lounge. Had a great time there. Yes, we had a great time there. And you know, so I got a picture that I'm gonna post. Man, I'm telling you, it's two young ladies. They the best chair dancing ever seen. Boy, it was some of the best chair dancing I ever seen. Then when they got up, they was doing some dancing. So we had a good time. So it wasn't all just lecture, question and answer. It was a lot of good, just general fun. People who I can see becoming friends and definitely already family. So it was a small group, very intimate. Who was able to talk about, get down into to people's details. So it was great. It was a great time. I really enjoyed it. My wife and I are already planning the second meetup. Some of it, a lot of that is based on the conversation that we had with the people who were there. We just got to find out one little piece of information today, and then we'll solidify that meetup for next year. So hopefully more of you guys will be able to join us next year. All right. So we got Fred Adams, who needs to repent. Fred Adams said that he was going to show up, and he's on Facebook right now telling lies, talking about there was no more room for me, so he left. That is a utter and complete lie. As a matter of fact, the room across from me and my wife's room was empty the entire weekend, right? There were plenty of rooms that were available at the Drury Plaza in downtown San Antonio. So, and I want to thank the Drury Plaza downtown San Antonio. The hospitality was great. Everything was great there. Had some people had to figure out the thermostat, but it was all right. But we want to bring out the fact. I usually don't. I ignore Fred Adams 90% of the time, but that's that 10%. And in this 10%, Fred claimed that he was going to be there, but he was going to handle us in Yeshua's name. And he did not show up. And the hotel had plenty of room. Our hotel had plenty of room. Other hotels had plenty of room. So we know that Christians will get on here and tell lies, right? Tell those lies. And I didn't want to do it. I did some videos while we was there, but I didn't want to say anything about Fred not being there until today, because I wanted to make sure it was a perfect statement that he was not there at all. You gotta love the ain't no hate like Christian love. Ain't that the way it goes? Wait a minute, I wanted to change that. Why that's not looking the way I want it to look. Okay, it's wide, it's big. Okay, but we had a great time no matter what. We had an enjoyable time. Everybody who was there, they, in their own words, they had a great time. So we had a great time. Look, you don't want me to talk about the fact that he lied for months. For months he lied. You don't want me to talk about that. So he want to move on to the topic. Yes. So the way we will get it figured out exactly what we're going to do for next year, so that you will have ample time to handle yourself accordingly. For next year. All right. So but before this week ends, I will be announcing next year's meetup. I know some people are not going to go just simply because of what it is, but you'll be all right. So, but let me say this. Before I get on to the subject matter. one of the things that happened this weekend is the fact that one of the young ladies who did come, she's Christian, but she wasn't insulted. We didn't insult her. She didn't insult us. We had our conversations still with no holds barred. We had our conversations. So we weren't, uh, what am I saying? We weren't biting our tongue. And, she asked some questions, made some statements. It was all great. It was valid. And everybody grew from it. Everybody enjoyed it. And we still, even in parts where there was disagreement, we honored each other in friendship and love, though. And that's how it should be, right? It should be that regardless of, and when she left, she didn't leave like, oh, I'm changed, because y'all know that's not the point. That's not the point. I'm never trying to change anybody. But even some of the things we talked about that had nothing to do with deconstructing, there was still information gained there. But her personality was wonderful, and we had a good time. And, definitely somebody that I could hang around, somebody I can be around, somebody I can have fun with. She was amazing. She was amazing. But we had differences of religious belief or spiritual belief, or however you want to phrase it. But we walked away from everything with a hug and a smile. And that's how it should be. That's how it always should be. Right. So I definitely, even though I could give props to every person who was there, I wanted to highlight that one because that's how our society should be, where we can have these opposing views in this genre and still be friends, still be family, still get on the dance floor, still hug each other, still exchange numbers and things of that nature. And I think everyone who was there would agree with me that there was no, between us, there was no strife between, and I say us, I mean the whole group. There was no strife, right? So that was outstanding. That was, in all honesty, that had to be in the presence, to have that presence and have those types of communication and walk away still with a smile, with plans of still to see each other in the future. I gain that gives me so much more joy than almost anything else. That gives me so much more joy. Right. So we had a great time. And yes, in case you're asking, when Sherry gets on TikTok, yes, we did. There was some dancing going on. So Sherry got her dancing. Actually, she's one of them chair dancing extraordinaire. So it was great. It was great. And like I said, either tomorrow or later this week, I'll be announcing what our next year's meetup is going to be, and it will be in October. That way, you will have plenty of time to join us. Yeah, it was great. Now, on to the subject matter. So today we're going to have a discussion. The prompt says Sodom and Gomorrah. Did it really happen? We are going to go deeper than just the fact of did it happen historically. But if you've been watching this channel, if you know me, you know that it's going to I start everything from a historical standpoint, because if things don't match up in history, and this is supposed to be the inerrant word of this God, then obviously it has to match history. We should be able to see evidence of such things happening. In the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, most people just start from when Lot and the so-called angels came to visit, but this story truly starts a little bit earlier. We have to go all the way. We have to start in around, I think it's either Genesis 13 or Genesis 16. But we have to start further back. We have to start at the point when Abraham was supposedly visited by this God and two other angels. They came to Abraham's house, his tent. And no, actually, you know what? We got to go further back than that. It doesn't start there. So, excuse me. We have to go all the way back to when Lot and Abraham, who had grown in so much in wealth and property with sheep and servants and workers, that the plains, the area that they were inhabiting, wasn't enough space for them to work together. So the men who followed Lot, the men who worked for Lot, the slaves who worked for Lot, uh, they were getting into conflicts with one another over who should be able to feed their sheep where, who should be able to water their sheep where. And these conflicts arose. And so after a time, Abraham got with Lot and said, tell you what, we're going to separate. And when they separated, they he gave Lot, a good uncle, gave the nephew dibs. And he said, dibs. He said, where you want to go, where you want to be. You get to choose your land of where you want to be. And Lot chose what he thought to be greener pastures. And those greener pastures were near the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, according to the story. Now, historically, we have no idea where Sodom and Gomorrah actually lies. There was a Greek philosopher who thought that Sodom and Gomorrah was these two cities that they found written in cuneiform, but as archaeology seems to always do, it demonstrates that the place is unfounded, because as it turns out, one of those cities would be in Syria while the other one was in Jordan. Josephus thought that the cities would be at the banks of the Dead Sea. And some would suggest that it's underneath the waters of the Dead Sea. There have been many other cities that have been thought to be Sodom and Gomorrah. When they have found certain cities where they can find a destruction of those cities would have happened in or around 2600 BCE, then they would say that those cities are Sodom and Gomorrah. But oftentimes they will find out that those cities were destroyed by an army, or some other catastrophe occurred with the city where they was abandoned because they went through a drought, or they became captives. So some other instance always demonstrated those cities being destroyed. Right now, Tel al-Hammam is thought to be the most likely candidate for the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. So we don't actually know where Sodom and Gomorrah were located. There are still theories, it's still debatable. But Lot supposedly went and lived near the city. Now, after a while, the king of Elam, so the king of Elam had aggressions against Sodom and Gomorrah, and went and conquered Sodom and Gomorrah. And in that conquering, he took Lot and his family and his servants and everything, took them as captives. And then at that point, Abraham had to marshal up his men, and his men went and they defeated the Elamites. And after they defeated the Elamites, he returned to the king of Melchizedek, who was supposedly the king. He returned king of Salem. He returned all that he had gained from reconquering or saving Lot and his people, his family, and Lot and his family went back, and they now live in the city of Sodom. So you have to start the story back there. And so the city was conquered first, and then the city was gained its freedom. And then Lot decided that he was just going to live in the city, since you would have to say, since he decided to live in the city, that he lost all of his servants, lost all his slaves, lost his cattle to a certain degree. And now he's just living in the city. Then Abraham gets visited by God and these two other angels, and of course he offered them some food and some rest and washed their feet and all this sort of thing, which is interesting because now these angels and this God is being anthropomorphized. And this God said that he came down to see whether or not Sodom and Gomorrah were wicked, right? Which indicates that this God doesn't know. How does he not know whether or not these cities are wicked? He first has to, and he has to send an emissary. some emissaries out to determine whether or not the cities are wicked. God is supposed to be all knowing. So, how does an all knowing God not know that the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah are wicked and has to go and verify it? It is the same way that once when he challenged Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, he had to verify it. He says that now he knows Abraham is good to go, right? Well, we know if you are the all-knowing God and you know every man's heart and every man's thoughts, then there's no reason for you to challenge or to test Abraham if you already know. And then just this mere statement of now I know, now I know. So we have the same scenario here with this Sodom and Gomorrah story. He has to send two angels to find out, to check and see. And of course, we go through Abraham and his negotiating. If there are 50 people in there, why are you going to kill everybody? If there's 40, if there's 30, if there's 20, gets all the way down to if there's 10, then you shouldn't destroy the city. Now, you would think that this guy would know if there's 50 or 40 or 30 or 20 or 10, but he doesn't know these things. So he has to send some people into the city, send some angels down in there to verify it, right? Which takes away from the all-knowingness of this God, that he got to send some emissaries. If he already knows that the city is wicked, there was no intent originally to allow for Lot and his family to escape the city. When he was first saying that he's looking to see it, he wasn't saying that I'm going to look to see it, but I will save Lot and his family. No, I'm going to destroy this entire city and all its inhabitants for their wickedness. But he got to check and see, got to go verify it. And he sends two angels to go verify it. So these two angels go in to verify the city. Now, if you understand ancient cultures, in ancient cultures, when the strangers would come to a new city, those strangers generally have to present themselves to the magistrate, present themselves to whomever is in charge. And if they don't, then they often receive hostilities. Now, when you look at other readings of the Bible that refers to Sodom and Gomorrah, one of the things that you find out is that they say that the cities were inhospitable. There are other midrashes and other non-canonical renderings of this story where they talk about they pinpoint some of the different inhospitable acts. In the story of Jasher, it talks about how they killed two women for making an illegal economic exchange. They talk about how they set beggars up to starve to death and then take their stuff. So whether we're talking about from the Bible perspective, the canonized Bible perspective, or we're talking about other non-canonical things that are referring to the story, the overwhelming majority of the time, the wickedness in this city was inhospitable, in an inhospitable situation. Charging people taxes to cross rivers, having illegal types of economics, beating people, killing people. According to other aspects of this story, is more about the inhospitable actions of these people that is levied down onto them. Now, we have no idea because we don't know where the city is, haven't found the city, so we have no artifacts about the city. So we have absolutely nothing outside of the Bible and other extra biblical writings that would describe how the people in this city acted. We don't know. We are getting a one-sided story about this. Now, we'll get to the reason why of that in just a few minutes here. But to go through and finish this story off, these men, these angels came into the city. They didn't know that they were angels. They thought they were just men. When they came into the city, they were just in the courtyard. And of course, we can see a repeat of this whole story, a similar repetitive story in Judges 19. But of course, it's leveled up. Got to make it bigger. But Lot comes and he tells the men, no, you can't sleep in the town center. These people, they treat they treat people foul. So come and stay in my house. They come and they stay in Lot's house. When they stay in Lot's house, because this is an inhospitable city, a crowd of men, a mob of men gather around the city. The biblical story says that the whole city came. But they come and they gather around his house and they say, send out those strange men so that we may know them. The we may know them has been up for serious debate. Now, definitely since the 1200s BC, and here's what's interesting, since the 1200s BC, 1200 CE, it has only been termed that to know these men was speaking from a sexual connotation. And from 1200 to 1955, literally thousands, 1200s to the 1800s, thousands of the late 1800s, thousands of men were executed for the acts of sodomy and for sodomy trials. Sodomy trials was not just men having sex with other men. Sodomy trials also involved if you had sex with an animal. So bestiality was considered the sex, some of this sex. And then, okay, I understand that you're in the queue, but once I finish my whole thing, then I start talking to people. Yeah, I don't know if you're new to the show, so you have to be patient. Capone. So just be patient for a second. Now, but I'll recognize you as first. So it is not until the 1200s CE that this becomes more of how people think about it today. Prior to that, to know someone, and this debate really got turned on his head around 1950, but to know someone in the Bible, 900 times this word yada is used, which means to know someone. Out of the 900 times that it has a sexual connotation, it is only sexualized 13 to 14 times. Each time that it is sexualized, it is, almost every time that it's sexualized, except for in the old, every time in the Old Testament is sexualized, it is always meant between a man and a woman. Any other time that is sexualized, and when it's in the New Testament, then it is in reference to men with men. So when we look at the Sodom and Gomorrah story, we cannot use New Testament thought processes, but we have to use what the people of that time frame who wrote it, how they would have utilized that word. Just in the same way that if we use the word awful today, but we are reading something that was written in the 1600s or the 1500s, the word awful had a different connotation during that era. So when we see it in the Old Testament, when we see it in this story of Sodom, we have to look at how was that word used to know someone the majority of times in the Old Testament. And let me correct myself. In the Old Testament, I said that. In the Old Testament, only time that is reference to sexual activity is between a man and a woman. It is not referenced that way sexually when it's talking about men and men. So when the sexual crime of them, the idea that them wanting to have sex with these men is not actually valid, because the word yada also in the Old Testament also means to interrogate, to question, to dominate, to humiliate. Right. So this word, this story, which has been utilized to murder a particular group of people, is actually a misunderstanding and misunderstanding of the actual word and the context of the word in the Old Testament and within the story. So, and we're going to go through some of the to easily find this, and this is what I'm going to refer to if anyone comes up to challenge it. When we look at Jeremiah 23:14, and it talks about Sodom and Gomorrah, it's talking about their inhospitality, his inhospitable actions. It's talking about them being liars, being deceitful. It never mentions anything sexual. Amos 4:1-11. It doesn't mention anything sexual. It talks about them being liars and thieves and murderers and all these sorts of things, being inhospitable. Ezekiel 16:49-50 talks about the same thing when it references Sodom and Gomorrah. It's talking about them being inhospitable, talking about them, then that is their crime, that they're liars and things of that nature. So in the Old Testament, it is not referring to sexual activity. This is only something from New Testament believers that it means has anything to do with homosexuality when you say to know someone. So they wanted to know these men. So in truth, we can read the story, say that they wanted to interrogate these men. They wanted to dominate these men. They want to humiliate these men. And let me go ahead before anybody says anything. To dominate someone is not just because people will think about, oh, butt breaking. That's how they dominate men. Dominating men is also beating the shit out of them. Beating the hell out of them. This, we look at bullying if you look at any time through the history of man, bullying someone is to dominate them so that they are under your will, that they are in fear of you, that you can take advantage of you. When you bully somebody, it is beating the shit out of them, threatening them with physical violence. And especially in some of the other extra biblical writings, most of the time they are talking about physical violence, right? So when they wanted to get to know them, most of the scholarly consensus outside of apologists recognize it as they wanted to beat the shit out of these men or interrogate and question these men. Lot does the nasty thing and shows how women are only property in this book and offers his 2 virgin daughters who are betrothed to someone, which would be committing adultery according to this Bible, which is sinful according to this Bible, to offer 2 women who are betrothed to someone, because that means the deal has already been struck that they are going to be the property of these other 2 men. So he's violating the property agreement of these other 2 men in this story, but he offers them. The angel blinds the mob and tells Lot, but the angel's like, nah, you ain't got to do that, dog. And he blinds the men and then tells Lot and his wife and his daughters and the men, the son-in-laws, that they need to flee. Well, the son-in-laws don't flee, but the daughter and the wife and Lot, they flee the city. But before they flee the city, they tell them, go all the way to this other city. And Lot's like, I'm old, man, I can't make it that far. Then they say, okay, but I can make it to the caves. And he said, well, just make it to the caves, but don't look back, because you'll turn to a pillar of salt, right? Don't look back. So they flee the city. Of course, there's a story about Lot's wife looking back and her turning into a pillar of salt. And of course, there are multiple people who are claiming that they know where the pillar of salt is, right? But there's more than one spot that they choose. There's like at least 3 places that they claim to be her. One is in modern day Israel. One is in Jordan. Right? They are just they're making these claims, and they're great tourist traps. They are great tourist traps. People pay good money to go see these things. You have people claiming, oh, they got sulfur balls. Well, these sulfur balls are created by multiple ways, but the primary way will be in the actual other historical accounts that I'll get into in a minute. So they flee the city, get away, go to the caves. And even though they were told that go to this other city that would be safe, where this other city had to have people in it, for some reason, Lot's daughters think that there's no other men around in the whole world. And of course, the word that's used there is Eretz, and Eretz means land, the general land area. And so they get their father drunk. They have some incestuous sex. Twice this man falls for it. And it's interesting that this guy said that there is no good people in this city, but the ones that he does choose to save are ones who commit incest, get drunk and commit some incest. Yeah, this is not a very high standard to be a good person in this guy's eyes, So they have the incest, and their children becomes the Ammonites and the Moabites. And this is why later in the Bible, when they're referred to as the cousins of the Israelites, is because of this incestuous sexual relationship. And of course, the Moabites, you get Ruth, and Ruth, you get Boaz, and then you get Obadiah, Jesse, and then David, and then supposedly up to Jesus. So Jesus comes from this incestuous relationship, if he's actually the son of Joseph, which is the only way he can be considered a seed of David. But we got so that's pretty much the story there. Now, we have seen there are Greek stories, there are Akkadian stories that tell about how a city. These cities in one story is Sodom and Gomorrah, and is Sodom and Gomorrah and 13 other cities, um, and that's the Arcadian story. But there are some other Greek stories and some other stories about cities being destroyed um, by what we would know today as an asteroid airburst. And in one of the cities where they're thinking in Tel in Tel El Hammam is the primary city that they're like, oh look, this is the city. Everything in that city is consistent. Everything in that city and the layer of destruction for that city is consistent with a meteorite airburst explosion, which would level a city like a nuclear weapon exploding above it. For instance, the atomic bombs that that America dropped on Nagasaki, it airburst. It didn't hit the ground, it airburst. What happened, what we see that happened in Siberia was a meteorite airburst. The same thing, elemental things that happen in the airburst in those two cities, well, in those two Japanese cities, as well as in Siberia, are consistent with the destruction layer of Tel El Hammam of a meteorite airburst. Now, of course, if you believe in this Bible, you can say, well, that's just a tool that this God utilized. And that airburst, if it was, and since it's near the Dead Sea, would cause for that layers of salt to create these sulfur balls and to drop and fall out of the sky. It would cause destruction things will go up and then rain down, in fire on these cities. So we see that the story has been told before there ever was an Israelite by the Arcadians. So what we're most likely seeing here is a historical memory of a city or multiple cities being destroyed, because even in the Sumerian version, there's 7 other cities that are also destroyed by some type of, well, in the Sumerian story, it's pretty much a war going on between Marduk and Enlil, and he destroys these cities. Right? No, this is when he was fighting. Yeah, he was fighting Marduk when he destroyed the Tower of Babel. But then there's another, when they were in their war, he also destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, which would be Sodom and Gomorrah, and 7 other cities. And there's this evil wind that so this radiation wind that went and decimated 7 other cities, heading further down the Euphrates towards modern day Iraq and Kuwait. And those cities do appear to be abruptly abandoned, as if people just dropped their shit and ran. So this is more of a historical memory, and then the Hebrew writers just added their own story of Lot and everybody in it. Because even in the Arcadian version, the person who's telling the story is a poem. It's a poem. It's a cuneiform written poem, and I forgot the guy's name. Something Sacy. In this poem, he's writing about it, and he's able to write it because he escaped from it, in the same sense that you have Lot and his daughters escape from it. Now, he didn't commit incest in his poem, but as with any other story, you gotta ramp it up a little bit. So Sodom and Gomorrah, as far as the biblical version of the story, never happened where it was something that this God did. It is more than likely just a memory from an airburst meteorite that happened in this region, and different people from different time frames are telling their own version of it. Because what we do know is that Lot, he don't exist. There's no evidence, no proof of Lot's existence. And we can track and see that these other peoples, Moabites and the Ammonites, are Semitic people who developed into their own cultures from the different transitions of conquering nations. That these biblical people who claim to be the progenitors of people, is just something they made up for their story. So with that being known, we know that we cannot accept this book as being the inerrant word of some God, because we know that this story is not an accurate story as far as where these generations come from. It's not an accurate story as to why the city was destroyed. It's not accurate as far as how the city was destroyed. We don't even know where the cities are located. So, and as far as Abraham defeating the Elamites, we have no history concerning that and demonstrating that. Exactly, Rod. It's a modernization of an old story that many people saw but did not understand how asteroids enter our planet atmosphere and blow shit up. So since there is no scientific understanding of it, God of the gaps. That works. And different people have their own God of the gaps for this. Enlil did it. So as much as you can say the God of the Bible did it, is as much as you can say Enlil did it also. But right before I let people come on, the last thing, the reason why this story is important and this story should be broken down is because our history, our Western history, Middle Eastern history, has utilized this story to kill and ostracize groups of people. In the same way they use the aspects of this book about slavery, it is the same way the Abrahamic religions utilize this in order to attack and justify the violence and the murdering, and in many instances, especially during medieval Europe and Victorian age Europe, to take away people's property, right? So if you wanted someone's property, all you have to do is claim that they was committing sodomy. As a matter of fact, with part of the lies that was told on the Knights Templars is that they were committing property. I mean, they were committing sodomy. And by making that statement, it allowed for the King of France and the Pope to take away the property of the Knights Templars, who at that time frame were the richest consortium, were the ones who developed international banking. And it allowed the Pope and the King of France to become super rich by taking all their money and all their property by leveling the claim of sodomy on them. So, and we're still doing it today. We may not take people's property, but it's a weird thing. Over the last 4 or 5 days on, I forget which streaming service, but there has been a bunch of commercials about how I don't know how it's happening, where it's happening. I don't know the level of it's happening, but it's happening enough where and it could just be propaganda. But these commercials have been coming on talking about how people are being denied housing because of their sexual orientation. So we're still utilizing this misunderstanding of what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah to ostracize people, take advantage of people, to oppress people simply because they don't act the way the majority of people act. And if you ever question, why do I stand up for people who are going through oppressive situations, is because if I don't stand up for people who are going through something unjustly because I'm not part of their group, if I allow for governments and for churches to revert back to the policies of the 1500s and 1800s, then if all of them are gone, destroyed, then who will stand up who will stand up for me when it does affect me? Who will stand up for me if these people who want to take America back to 1776? Well, in 1776, it wasn't good for a black man in America. It was way worse back then than it is today. I'm cool with having some people who say, you know what, you support me. And I know it doesn't always happen that way. I know oftentimes, we can look at the women's liberation movement, and I'm not trying to make it racial, but it is racial. Black women supported white women during women's liberation, but then when women got their liberation, they did not return the favor. I know that happens, but I'm not going to prejudge groups of people today based on how people were back in the day. I know Protestants didn't support the Jews. Wait a minute, it was a Protestant. Yeah, Protestants didn't support the Jews or the handicapped or the gypsies. But then when the table got turned on them in Germany, there was no one left there to support them. I look at it from that perspective. There was no one left there to support them because they didn't support the other people. So, yeah. This injustice, this consistent injustice is something that if we don't stand up for it, we won't see it go away. And even in the 80s, like gay bashing was pretty much approved. I never saw, I'm sure some people did go to jail for that, but most of the time they didn't. It wasn't investigated at the same level as if they was investigating any other general murder, right? There was a murder. Let's find out. They was gay. Okay, let's just look at it for a second. The trail went cold. So I will stand up against this. Now, I'm going to bring up Capone. Nubs, you're next. Capone. First caller. Are you over 21?
Yes, sir.
And are you a believer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you believe the biblical version of the Sodom and Gomorrah story is true?
Absolutely.
And what evidence do you have of that?
So they got evidence, archaeological evidence in the museum of Sodom and Gomorrah.
What museum?
It's been excavated multiple times. Location by William Albright. So it's evidence of, and also the fifth city where I think it's pronounced Zor. So in the narrative, it says that this was the city that wasn't destroyed, and it's in between of the other four cities.
Hold on, you said William Albright.
Yeah, William Albright.
Because you know what, I don't want to make 10 points and then we have to go all the way back to the first point and try to remember the other ones. So you're saying that William Albright discovered the city and it has been validated?
He excavated it. Yes, it's in the museum.
What city? What's the name of the city? What? Because those cities were not going to have the same name as today.
This is some Arabic name. It's in the museum though.
What museum?
They actually have it in the museum.
What museum?
The museum of the. Let me see. Let me get the name.
See, we're making generalized statements here.
I'm not making. I'm being specific.
No. In a museum is not specific. In a museum, there are thousands of museums in the world. And from what I see right off the bat, William Albright theorized that Sodom and Gomorrah is located in the Dead Sea and possibly submerged, which is
east of the Dead Sea.
Right. So this is pretty much based on what Josephus wrote in concerning Sodom and Gomorrah, because Josephus wrote that he thought that it might have been it's underneath the Dead Sea.
Josephus said that he'd been there.
No, he didn't say he'd been there.
Yes, he did. He said, "Well, I've seen it."
Okay, but Josephus said it was submerged. So Josephus has some.
Submerged doesn't mean that it was destroyed. It is submerged.
Have you ever been to the Dead Sea?
Yes. No. What does that have to do with anything?
The reason why I'm asking.
If he said it was submerged,
hold on. Calm down. Calm down. All right. In order to excavate a city that is submerged, you need to be able to scuba dive down into that city.
That's not necessarily true. Submerged just means that it's underneath something. No. That doesn't mean that it's underneath water.
Josephus in his writing said that it was submerged under the Dead Sea, which is below water. If it's under the Dead Sea.
Pull the quote up from Josephus. Because you mind.
I don't have the ability to do it on my phone.
I'm very acquainted with Josephus' writing. And he says, for I have seen it. So if Josephus seen it, how can it be submerged underwater?
Hold on, let me check. So we check things.
If you need me to. I'm saying, let me pull up the quote. Said this William Albright stuff.
Well, William Albright just has a theory. William Albright did not excavate nothing.
He was the head archaeologist on the site. I got his.
I just read the synopsis on William Albright, and he just had a theory that it is underneath the Dead Sea. He did not excavate it. They didn't say anything about stuff being in the water.
Yes, he did.
He did not put anything.
They was looking for pottery, and they couldn't find Bronze Age pottery.
I think you're confusing someone else from William Albright, because the site where they found Bronze Age pottery that had been glazed on one side, which would indicate a high temperature, a heat death in a sense, that was found that is in the city, the excavation site of Tel El Hammam. That's not where William Albright was.
So it's different sites. We're going into different people. I'm talking about William Albright. Hold on, let me pull it up real quick. The southeast of the Dead Sea, William Albright. The archaeological results of the expedition to Moab. It's like the archaeological results of an expedition to Moab in the Dead Sea. William F. Albright. And he says the primary purpose of the joint expedition was to secure the evidence, throwing light on the obscure but fantasizing problems of the city and the plain, especially Sodom, Gomorrah, and Zior, which will be in the middle, which persistent biblical and post-biblical traditions located at the southern end of the Dead Sea. Just like the Bible said that it was at the southern end of the Dead Sea, east of Gaza.
Okay, I'm reading it. I'm seeing it. I don't see where there were things that were put in museums. I see he thinks that it was a submerged city.
The sulfur bombs is put in the museum. Let me check.
The sulfur balls that were put in the museums, that is not evidence that it came from Sodom and Gomorrah. That is evidence that sulfur balls, and which is a natural occurrence, is not only something that happens from a disaster, but it also is a natural occurrence in and around that area of the Dead Sea. So that's not proof of Sodom and Gomorrah. Based on what I'm seeing about Albright, I don't see any indication that he found the city. His claims are where they possibly could be located.
And he said that it's at the south end of the Dead Sea. So now if someone is looking somewhere else, they're not going to find the city. The Bible say that it's in the south end of the Dead Sea.
Okay, the Bible claiming that doesn't the Bible making a claim doesn't mean anything if there's no physical evidence. And what I'm seeing you see this part right here? You see this part right here, right? So what I'm seeing about Albright is that no physical evidence remains from the cities have been found in the submerged areas that he is claiming. And the other locations are still subject of debate. So Albright has not discovered Sodom and Gomorrah. He has made theories of where it may be based on other geographical things in that area. So he has circumstantial evidence. And
you're missing the point.
No, I think you are.
You're missing a point.
What is the point?
doing the straw man saying, "Oh, she never found it." When he's telling you the exact location where he says it is, it matches the biblical location. Now you have to find out, has it been any other excavations in that site? What have they found? They found the sulfur bars, which are in the museum.
They found sulfur balls all around the Dead Sea.
When you read it in the Bible, if you go into the Hebrew, the word for
Sir,
the salt or the fire brimstone is it means sulfur.
Sir, if I find sulfur balls all around the Dead Sea, north, east, south, west, does that validate the city of Sodom and Gomorrah?
It was 4 cities. Listen, so it's one. Listen,
does that validate Sodom and Gomorrah if I find sulfur balls? No, I'm asking a question based on your statement. You say that the finding of sulfur balls is the.
If you find it in the exact location where the Bible says it was, if you follow those directions, yes. What you mean?
That is not what I asked. I said if I find it on the north side, on the east side, on the west side.
If you find it on the north side, the Bible don't say it was on the north side. That doesn't.
But we find sulfur balls on the north side, the east side, the west side.
Brother, that's not the point.
That is the point. If sulfur balls, and then sulfur balls are a natural occurrence in and around that area of the Dead Sea. You can find them anywhere around the Dead Sea. You can find sulfur balls.
Okay,
so that doesn't mean the Bible is true.
I'm trying to give you the reason why. That's because in one city that remained, and there was 4 cities that was destroyed. And the one city is a small city, and it's in the middle, and on both sides of it, which should be depending on whichever direction you look. If you look at north and south, in the middle it'll be a city. If you look at east and west, in the middle it'll be a habitable city, a real small habitable city. The Bible says that Sodom and Gomorrah, the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, would never be inhabited again, and it wasn't. To this day, it's a desert. You know what I'm saying? It's a desert, and it's filled up. They got remains there.
Remains of what?
Human remains.
Mm-hmm.
Human remains there. They got sulfur balls. They got pottery. So they know that some of the cities was inhabited at one point in time, and it dates back to the Bronze Age. So that's what I'm saying. Like, some of this stuff, you got to understand how they do archaeology, especially early on.
I understand. I understand. No, you're going, sir. Remember, for clarity purposes, yes, it is. Here I go again, because for clarity purposes, I'm not going to let you go on long diatribes. I don't let anybody do that. So it is what it is. The fact of the matter is that the sulfur balls that have been found in and around the Dead Sea are a naturally occurring event. It is not something that happened because of a special event. Now, can a special event increase it or cause it to happen more rapidly? Yes, but it is still a naturally occurring event. So therefore, the sulfur balls is not proof of Sodom and Gomorrah. There has not been a city that has been excavated that is demonstratively Sodom and Gomorrah. You have to have the city and excavate that city. Because, and then, even if you find the city, one of the examples I love to use, they thought the city of Troy was a mythological city. Finally found the city of Troy by using Homer's Iliad and Odyssey to find the city, and found the destruction layer that matches the time frame of Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. But does that mean that what's his name? Achilles existed and fought during the Trojan War? Does that mean Achilles is a demigod who is half god, half human? Does that mean that? Oh, he ran. He ran. You know, circumstantial evidence is not going to be proof of your story. And then you're lying, talking about Albright found the city and excavated the city. He never found the city or excavated the city. That's a straight lie.
It's true because the Bible says so. Come on now.
Yeah. And let me add this last part because he ran before I got back to Josephus. Josephus never claimed that he saw the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. What Josephus said is that he's seen relics of divine fire and traces of 5 cities in the area, including ashes and that sort of thing. He never said he actually seen, he went to the city, just relics and traces of 5 cities. Traces of 5 cities don't mean that he found Sodom and Gomorrah. It could be traces of any kind of city. And they don't have, and they damn sure didn't have the scientific equipment that we have today to identify what those cities were. So I'm not taking Josephus as an archaeologist. But what's up, Nub? What you got on it?
You know,
somebody call you Bishop Nub.
Somebody, I bet you it was a Christian showing me that Christian love.
It's not. He's not.
Oh.
No, he's not a Christian. He's not a Christian.
Bitch Nubs, huh?
No, yeah, Bishop Nubs. Give us a lesson.
Bishop Nubs.
Yeah, Bishop.
I thought you said bitch Nubs.
Oh, no.
Bishop Nubs, I'm okay with. Yes, I will hold a title in the Church of Sanity. Speaking of sanity, I hear a lot of these Christians quoting Josephus all the time. You know, there's a funny thing about Josephus. He actually wrote books that we can read today.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, if you read it and then you read the Bible and you put them side by side, you know, there's some interesting correlations. You know, like Josephus told a story of a man that was whipped that said, woe unto Israel from all, you know, the whole story of Jesus getting whipped is Jesus. The guy was named Jesus, but it wasn't some miraculous savior. It was some crazy dude that ran around the city saying, woe to Israel. And then when he died, that's where you get the rock that was put upon. That's the rock. It was a Roman rock from a catapult. And he said, woe to Israel and woe to me. And then that rock fell upon him. And that is the rock that the church is built on. Give me a break. Read the books that you're quoting before you quote books, Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to sit there and claim that this is some miraculous action, then maybe reading the books that came before it would be a good source to see the direct plagiarism. And especially when it talks about how Moses wrote Genesis, how's the man going to describe his own death and things that happened after his death? Give me a break, Christians. Give me a break.
Can't do it.
No.
And even with this Sodom and Gomorrah story, this is being written. If this city was a real city, which it's possible that it was a real city, but if this city was destroyed by a asteroid airburst, they're writing about it in and around, at the earliest time that they're writing about it is around 800 to 700 BCE.
Yep.
The story supposedly happened around 2600, well, around 2600 BCE. It has to be around 2600 BCE and before, because it has to be before the flood. Yep. I mean, after the flood. Sorry, it has to be after the flood.
Yep, I got what you're saying.
So you have to have this story around 2600 BCE, 2500 BCE in order for it to happen. The fact that it's being written about almost 2,000 years later is utter nonsense because you have no contemporary information that would demonstrate that this is a true story. It's just information that it's a shared memory, because before they wrote about it in the 700s and 800s BCE, you had the Akkadians writing about it 1,000 years prior.
Right.
So they're just copying this shared cultural memory of multiple people in this region.
Right.
So,
and
but
it's
they won't
not
read
just
that.
it's not just that region, it's a worldwide event, because if you look at like the Popo, in my opinion, I'll put it that way, in my opinion, just to make that very clear.
Mhm.
If you look like at the Mayan Codex and stuff like that, the Popol Vuh, it opens with, in the beginning, God hovered over the water, and out of the water came creation. I mean, it's basically word for word. So it's clear, and granted, they say that that's a much later writing, but history is just a series of lies that's agreed upon by men, so other than the archaeology, if there's archaeology to back it, then that's, sure. But if you're saying based off of this biblical text, first, kind of like I've asked Fred, you can't use what we're questioning to prove the legitimacy of what we're questioning.
Right.
You can't go to, King Solomon and say, hey, did you talk to demons? And him say, no, yeah, no. You can't go to David and say, hey, did your kids enter into a molesting, disgusting, brother and sister event? No. Yes, that's what the book says. So if you take it from the guy that's talking that doesn't have a clue, 2,000 years later, well, you get Christians of today.
Exactly, you do. And I like that you mentioned the Popol Vuh, because although it wasn't written down by Europeans until like the 1600s, it's a story that was being told prior to them ever meeting Europeans and Christians, which they would not. They created that story without having contact with anybody else in the Middle East to have a similar story. So life coming out of the waters and God's hovering over the waters seems to be a common mindset of ancient people, regardless of their contact with each other.
Well, it describes how children are birthed. We are birthed out of the waters of our mother. And our father hovered over the mother, and out of that came life. That's kind of the story of procreation.
Right. And the same type of procreation is happening all over the world. So people develop similar storylines.
Right. Because everybody bursts out of the waters. Sorry, it's the Christian in me. I've been a Christian before in my life, and I grew up Baptist. So you'll have to excuse me, my rudeness. Sometimes I act like a Christian. Please forgive me. Yes. Rude.
All I was going to say was just like they all saw rain. And so they all created a similar God story about rain gods and thunder gods and lightning gods. All these other storms and different types. Oh, you got a gentle rain god, and then you got a terrible rain god who brings destruction. We have all of them had sun gods and moon goddesses. Some of them.
Hey, don't be forgetting about my favorite guy, Thor. I mean, you can't have life without Thor, and my second favorite, Loki. Loki, man, that guy is great.
But unless I'm in West Africa, then it's Shango and Eshu,
which are the same thing.
Well, no, not Eshu. What's the name? Anisi.
Right. Yeah, it's all the same thing. It's storm gods and it's rain gods, and it's mankind that didn't have the language to express themselves correctly, so they used what they had and gave the stories to create this thing called moral context. and it was created by man, not by God. And moral context has to do with the people that are speaking out what is moral and what is not. That is why you get Jewish law. That is why you get the law of Hammurabi. That is why you get all these different types of laws. And they're all very, very similar, but they're all very, very unique in of themselves because of the moral context that they were created in.
All right. And this takes us back to the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. They've utilized this story to brutalize and take advantage and oppress
Yes.
people that they simply disagree with their lifestyle.
Yes.
Right?
When in fact, ironically, fun fact, when back in 1930s, the people with the little hats were actually, the reason that they were disliked is they were bringing propaganda of, the same kinds of things.
Wait, who the hell are the people with the little hats?
The people with the I don't want to get you in trouble with oh, you don't care? Old Benny boy.
Benny boy.
The Uish people.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah.
You're talking about the yarmulkes.
Yeah, the little funny hats.
Okay, I got you. Okay, I got you. Go ahead.
Okay, so if you look at historical record, you will see that the first transgender surgery was done by a German Jew in the 30s to another Jewish man. So if Sodom and Gomorrah were really the essence of, don't do this, well, then the chosen people of today, apparently, and I say that very loosely because I've actually read history, the chosen people, because they chose themselves of today, are the ones responsible for the whole concept of Sodom and Gomorrah in the 30s and today.
And the thing about it is that in the Jewish culture, this story is not a story about homosexuality.
Right.
This story, it's a story about being liars, being cheaters, being
Christians,
inhospitable. Their inhospitality is the main thing that Jeremiah, Amos, and Ezekiel emphasizes concerning this story. And when they I forgot which one, I think it's Jeremiah who says that now we're acting in the same way that the people
pretty sure
were acting, which he reflects to how they're being inhospitable, how we're cheating one another by utilizing false coins and things of that nature. So the Hebrew storyline for this has nothing to do with homosexuality. That is a later creation, and then made it refer back to this story, right? Because
it's just like this product here. Same thing. It was the Pope that said it was an unholy sacrament, but the Jews before it used to put an ounce of that stuff there. An ounce goes into the holy anointing oil because it's sure not the poisonous toxic plant that'll kill you. That would be foolish because they didn't have gloves to prevent it from killing them when they made it. And I work with herbs. Like, I know that if you touch certain plants, especially when you're pulling oils and stuff, that's concentrate. Oh my goodness, you're not surviving that. I don't care how much God you got. Yeah, your God set it up that certain plants are poisonous.
Poisons aren't supposed to bother them now, remember?
Oh, right. And just like snakes, right?
Right, yeah, they're not supposed to, they can get bit by a snake and the poison not bother them. So,
man,
they should be able to handle all your plants.
Right,
I want to see one of them run through. I ain't gonna try to kill them. Just run through some poison ivy and not get.
I will. I have no problem doing that because I know that at the end, I know what plants to actually grab and then rub on me, so it neutralizes the effect. But nevertheless,
no. It's supposed to be a miracle, so you're supposed to run through it and not get.
Wait. No. It doesn't have to be a miracle because if you look at what the Bible actually says, in the beginning, God created those plants to do just that. It's the stupid people that read the Bible that don't follow the Bible that are running to the doctors instead of running to the creator's plants.
I'm with you on that, but what I'm talking about
Wait a second.
in the New Testament, when they talk about handling some snakes and get bit or drinking poison, it just says they won't die. It didn't say that they're gonna go get an antidote or they're gonna use a plant. They just not gonna die. That's the miracle.
We'll see which standard are we going to go by, the first standard or the second standard in the Bible. I guess it's subjective morality.
Well, Christianity goes by the second standard. They hardly know anything about the first standard, about the Old Testament.
Well, that's because if they read the Old Testament, let's be real freaking honest. If they actually read the Old Testament past what their preacher was willing to preach from the pulpit, they would see what kind of God they're actually serving. They would read scriptures like, I, Jehovah, am a jealous God. Do not serve any other God but me. Well, any other God, if Jesus is God, well, then you're doing what he tells you not to do.
Well, that's why they created the Trinity.
Oh, you mean Hermes Trismegistus? Because if you look at the time era that the Trinity came out and the doctrines that were coming in, see, there's, just as well as I do, there is an answer to all of their Christian bullshit, but they are not willing to read anything outside of their bullshit Bible, because if they did, they would find out that it is really bullshit. And then people like Fred would have to do something like go to Canada and have some assistance to do something that he's too cowardice to do. Like that kind of thing.
You almost made me spit my coffee out.
I'm sorry, sir.
That's a sin, because this is a nice Italian roast.
That's why I'm saying I'm sorry. There are things there are carnal sins. It is not just a sin unto God, but it is a sin unto your own self. And that wasting coffee under any circumstance, unless it's that instant shit, is a cardinal sin. Just like gluttony. For all you fat Christians, gluttony is still a sin. And it's a lack of self-control, which is a lack of the fruit of the Spirit. And if you do not have one of the fruits, how can you have any of the fruits? Because they are gathered together in a bunch like grapes. The grapes of wrath have come.
And I've seen in the Baptist church, I have never seen a pastor ever talk about gluttony and people's eating habits. They might talk about we need to be more. We might have like a fitness day or a nutrition day. And
no, they have fried chicken.
And because I was a personal trainer, at least once a year, they would have me give a whole little spiel about healthy eating and exercise and whatnot. But it was never a condemnation on that in the same way that they would condemn homosexuality. They didn't condemn adultery in the same, and it was condemned, but not at the same level. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm getting at. Is they might condemn, they never condemn overeating, but they would condemn adultery, they would condemn lying, they would condemn, and that's about it. But they would never condemn overeating, and they never condemn having bad finances. Like they would tell you, God's gonna bless you, you just gotta give, but they didn't condemn you if you did not manage your money right, in the same way that they would condemn homosexuality and adultery. Those are like their main thing. It's like they are so caught up with sex and controlling sex. Right?
Well, it was the first commandment, right?
And when they talk about,
like literally before anything else,
be fruitful and multiply.
Yep.
And they would never, and then even when they did condemn having sex before you get legally married, because that's all they were actually saying, they mostly emphasized that towards women. It wasn't emphasized towards the guys. Right?
And the thing about it is gluttony itself, like there are a couple of sins that are cardinal sins where it's not just sinning against God, but it's a sin to yourself. Like it's self-destructive behavior. And instead of mentioning these things, kind of like bad finances, self-destructive behavior, And what it does is it causes a need for a savior because they're too stupid to open the book. Even in 2 Timothy, it says, study to prove thyself worthy, rightly dividing the word of truth. But yet they don't open. How can you divide the word of truth if you don't divide the pages and read the pages? And if you actually read the pages, people, like the ones in the chat down there, they wouldn't be dying on mountains that aren't even mountains. They're not even anthills.
No, they're not. And if they was able to rightly divide this word, as they say, then if you looked at this Sodom and Gomorrah story, it's not talking about sexual sin. It's talking about being inhospitable.
Yep.
But they have been preached about that this is what the story is about. So now that's what their focus is. And that's what they think. And even when they read it, they convince themselves that that's what it's talking about, because they've never actually studied the word to know someone and what it means throughout different aspects of this book. Because if you show me a word that's written in a book 900 times, but only 1% of the time, or less than 1% of the time, it is referring to sexual activity. And in the Old Testament, it is used when it's referring to sexual activity between a man and a woman. How in the hell this one time in the Old Testament we're going to change it up to mean something else? Because the New Testament changes it to mean that. I'm going to say that it's now that in the Old Testament.
Right.
You got writers who are writing 700, 800, 900 years later, and I'm supposed to accept what they say compared to the people who was writing it 900 years ago and how they thought about it. We know how much language changed.
I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I need to correct you on that. The Bible, I need to correct you in my opinion. The Bible was written by Josephus, at least the New Testament. So one writer, not writers.
I think it's more than just Josephus.
Okay, maybe there were a couple other Flavians like Apollos to get Paul. I mean, that makes sense.
And then I think Philo also had his hand
Philo of Alexander. Yes. 100%. And actually, if you read Philo's writings, it talks about other people that have the same story as Jesus, but they're not the Son of God at all. In fact, they were scallywags or outcasts. People that were, I do need to address something I just saw in the chat. It was made known that fat people and skinny people both die. Yes, fat people and skinny people both die. Skinny people don't fall through chairs because the chair gives out. So they don't die from things like that. Skinny people do not die from the floor giving out when they're being hoisted up by a fire department. They don't. This is a video I saw. The lady got into bed and the whole floor collapsed. These are the things that fat people deal with. Skinny people do not deal with them. And this is a fact of life. This is not me making fun of fat people by any means. I've got plenty of people that in my life that are fat.
Is that what you were talking about?
Yep. And I don't know if it was out of Babylon. I don't know if it's pro or anti. I'm just saying factual matter. The quality of life for somebody that is fit and healthy is far greater than somebody that is not fit and not healthy. From the mental capacity and capability to the ability to walk to your living room without breaking a sweat. Both are true.
And I don't see it as, we like to counsel everybody nowadays, or, this kind of mindset, but I don't see it as fat shaming, because I see that somebody said bringing back fat shaming. I don't know if Maestro, I don't know exactly how he means it. But
I would never bring back fat shaming.
It is not about shaming people. It is about giving people information. Like when I was a personal trainer on the gym, I wasn't trying to shame anybody when they would become a client. It was more about like, hey, you can live this way or you can live that way. If you live this way, you're gonna have more health problems. Both of y'all can have heart issues, but your heart issues are going to be more intense because of all this, because your body is not designed to be this way. So it's a choice. And I was mean. I used to tell people, if they didn't want to do the work or do what's necessary, then I would tell them, then you know what, be happy and just die early. You'll be all right. Just
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you want to live that life, I'm not, same thing with the homosexual and stuff. Just don't hit on me. But if you want to live that way, that by all means, let me build you a house because you are a homosexual. I have no problem with that. And Christians really shouldn't have a problem with that either, because I'm pretty sure their Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, told them to love their neighbor as themselves and also love their enemy and do good to those that persecute you.
Mm-hmm.
But here they are in the chat just spewing the true message of this religion, which is truly hate.
It is. And
if you are not for God, you are the devil, but they don't remember that the devil works for the God.
Yes, he does. And you know, to try to keep it on the subject matter. But that is why, you know, they've taken this Sodom and Gomorrah story completely out of context when it comes to sexual behavior. But at the end of the day, that sexual behavior doesn't affect society or people or you or an individual at all. And when people say that it violates that first commandment of be fruitful and multiply, if it was such a major issue, the population would not be on a continuous growth. We wouldn't have, if it was a major issue, there wouldn't be 8 billion people on the planet, almost 8 billion people on the planet today. And if you go back 100 years, we were, I think it was like 6 billion. So we've gained like 2 billion people over the last 100 years or less. But if homosexuality was such a violation, why is the population still growing? Right? It doesn't work. You're muted. You muted yourself.
I need to address that comment. Mm-hmm. You're saying that it's 100% homophobic. No, it's, I don't want to be hit on by a man, and I'd be willing, and I do work for a lot of, I live on Minnesota. If there's not a homo within 20 feet of me, there's an odd day that's happening. Like, there's that mentality is all through this area, and I could give a shit less. I'm saying do no harm, and I shall do no harm. It's common courtesy to not be bothered by somebody's sexual orientation. But if you come to me and you know, I'm not going to be a rude asshole at the beginning, but if it's more than one time, I've already told you once. And men recognize when men say, okay, we're done. You know, it's the little, well, without saying it,
I say, I don't know how
Christians.
I don't know how it's taken. I don't know how Muttley is, what the perspective they're coming from. So let me just put it in this way. For me, this is just for me. I've been hit on by men. I've been hit on by women. There is a difference when I'm hit on by someone that I find attractive than there is by being hit on by someone I don't find attractive. Now, in any case, it's this, if it's someone that I don't find attractive, I just dismiss it. Like, hey, I'm either thank you for the compliment, but you know, not interested. But when it's a continuous thing, that's when it's a bother. That's when it gets on my nerves. And then when it's an assumed thing because of the area you're in. It was funny that this came up because me and one of the guys who was here for our meetup, we was talking about it. The fact that, no, was he for the meetup? No, this was a guy that I was talking to. It wasn't for the meetup, just a guy that I met yesterday. And he used to live in Atlanta. It bothered me. It bothers me that every time I go into a certain area of Atlanta, just because there's predominantly homosexual area, that people are hitting on you all the fucking time. It's like, I can't, it's near Piedmont Park. There's a lot of events going on there.
I know what you're talking about.
Don't assume that every man that goes to Piedmont Park is DL or gay. It's like, let me demonstrate something about myself that lets you know that I'm on your team. Don't just make the assumption. And that part does bother me when they make this assumption. Now, if I went to a gay club,
I
you
would
can make
expect
the assumption.
100%.
I'll accept it. But
Yep.
if I'm walking in a park and you're making that assumption, that bothers me. And that's not homophobia. That's just like I should have the freedom to walk around here, just like a woman thinks that she should have the freedom to walk through a park in the middle of the night and not be bothered. I should be able to walk in that park and not be bothered, or at least not be assumed to be something. And especially when I'm walking with a woman and my kids.
Right.
Stop making the assumption. That part bothers me. Now, there are some people who are just, they get upset. They have complexes within themselves. So I'm not putting my thoughts on every man or woman. There are some dudes who they do become offended when that happens. That's insecurity
I'm
within
not
them.
going to do that. I'm not going to need to get offended personally. What I'm going to do is say, hey, I'm not down with that shit. Stop. And if they don't stop, I normally move myself out of the area, because especially if I'm in an area where there's a high concentration of them, it would only make sense. If I'm not like a gay club, if I go to a gay club, I'm expecting it. But like you said, at a park, no. We don't need to be catcalling because we can't control ourselves as men, whether you're gay or straight.
Yeah. And the thing about
as
it
I'm
is,
saying catcalling, my cat is down here meowing to get some.
And it's not about being offended whether they think I'm gay or think I'm straight, because I see they said that it doesn't bother you if someone assumes that you're straight, though. It bothers me when people assume that I'm anything other than what you can visibly see. If you assume that, I have high melanin content, well, you can visibly see that. But if I don't demonstrate a certain behavior, don't assume that. It's kind of like when I was in IT, they assumed that because I was a black man, I couldn't be an IT guy back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Making any assumptions about me is irritating unless I've demonstrated that behavior or something that you can physically see, right? If you assume, it's just like what they tell me: don't assume a woman is pregnant just because she got a little belly, right? You don't do that. That's a faux pas. We stay away from that.
I've done that. Whoops.
So unless you can physically see something, I don't like any assumptions about me, right? That's why I warned everybody who came to the meetup. You might find out some things about me that you don't like, because you're going to see some other traits about me that you don't see here. So I might disrupt your assumptions about me. So I kept warning.
Well, how do you know a man? How do you know a man until you've broken a pound of salt with him? That's a lot of dinners that we're discussing things.
Oh, okay. I ain't never heard that one. That must be some Midwestern thing.
I think it's actually Jewish, unfortunately. No, anyways, I appreciate your time, man. I normally quick, sweet, and to the point. Just seeing the ignorance down there, it saddens me. It's a sad commentary on where we're at as a society, and it truly shows the subjective morality of Christianity.
Right. It does.
So I don't know. It's difficult to see these people. And if you were to make me a mod, I would only ever put people in timeout for 10 seconds for acting like small children. So just to let you know.
Yeah.
Much love.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. May Zeus bless you with much wellness. Krishna bless you with much patience, and Thor bless you with the ability to smash these fucking Christians in the face with a hammer. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know where that came from, brothers.
All right.
Have a great day.
Nub. Y'all know that he's gonna put that on his name next time he come on here. He's gonna be Bishop Nubs. You can't give him ammunition. But I don't care if people are, if so, you got the two ends of the fight. People are born gay. People are choose to be gay, and people are indoctrinated to be gay. I don't care which argument you fall under for that. I really don't care. That doesn't really matter to me. At the end of the day, the person is whatever for me, everybody is whoever they choose to be. There are certain natural things that you can't choose, of course. So it's debatable. The argument is still out there. It really doesn't matter. When it comes to this Sodom and Gomorrah story, my biggest problem is that it has been utilized to demonize people and has been utilized to separate and oppress people. And their own understanding of this story is so off, is off. This story should not be used in order for their demonization. Now, they have plenty of other parts of the Bible that they can use to say that homosexuality is a sin. There's plenty of parts that they can use, which is one of the reasons why I don't. It baffles my mind that there are gay Christians. Like, why are you a Christian? And this book and this God hates you, right? It makes no sense. You cannot, Maestro did the last part of his comment over there. I don't know his or her comment that says, just like a gay person can't be made straight. Do you know how many people have suffered, especially in the mid 1900s, in the 80s? How many people have suffered because their overly Christianized parents sent them to one of those, I forgot what it's called, not Scared Straight, but one of those compounds where they're going to pray the gay away, right? How many kids have suffered through that? How many people have suffered through that? We're going to pray the gay away. There's whole, that conversion therapy. There are whole groups of churches and people who are like, oh, I used to be gay, but I now came to the Lord, and now I'm a man married to a woman. And the woman is like, yeah, I used to be gay, now I'm married to a man. Or it's some mental bullshit. You're forcing these people to not live out their truth, right? Who are not hurting anyone. They're not. Now, if they do, the same way a gay man or woman can molest a child is the same way that a straight man or woman can molest a child. So don't even bring that bullshit up, right? Jackie Hill Perry is a prime example. I don't know who that is, but okay. I'm going to take your word for that, Lily. But people can just do some evil shit no matter what their sexual orientation is. And the fact that people try to focus on that one group is bullshit. That's what they're doing. And this story is problematic. You can still go to some places, I think Alabama, Georgia, Virginia. There's some states that still have this on the books. Thankfully, they don't prosecute people for this anymore. And at some point, they were prosecuting married couples who were doing it. And here's the thing: sodomy had a broader definition. It meant oral sex. It meant bestiality as well as same sex. It had all the earlier sodomy laws, 1200 sodomy laws, 1300, 1400, 1500 sodomy laws included all of those things. So if your wife was giving you head or you giving your wife head, that was a violation of sodomy laws. So it wasn't just the one type of thing that was going on. And there were, I remember a case when I was growing up, I remember hearing a case about A man and a wife, a man and his wife, man and a woman. They did. They participated in anal sex, and sodomy laws were brought against them. It was something like some neighbor was looking through their window. So they was peeping. They was doing a peeping tom, and they were looking through their window. They saw them have anal sex, and then they, charged them with sodomy. It was ridiculous that the human being have utilized this story to jeopardize these people's lives. Right? You can't deconstruct what God has ordained. You would first have to be able to prove your God to prove that it has been ordained. I need y'all to give me a minute. Give me a minute. Hold on for a second. Hold on. I need a minute. I need a second. I need a little break for a second. All right. I'm back. I'm back. Sorry about that. For those who know from this weekend's debauchery, I had to flush my system. Had to start flushing my system from this weekend's debauchery. Because we did have a good time. Did this police burst in and stop them? No, the police didn't step in and stop them. The person called the police. The police came later. They had to charge him with the sodomy law. But then at the end of the day, I think they also charged the other person with being a peeping Tom or some shit like that too. I don't remember how far the case went, because this was like back in the 80s. So I don't remember exactly how far that case went. The only reason I even knew about the case is because the preacher at the time frame of the church that I was going to brought it up and was talking about it. So we'll see. So I don't remember everything that happened to the case. And this was in Atlanta, well, Marietta, to be. Well, it happened in Atlanta, somewhere else. And I don't know where it happened in Atlanta. It was being reported on in Atlanta back in the 80s. So all the ins and outs, and I was a teenager, so I don't remember all the ins and outs of it. But of course, the pastor utilized that to talk about how, you're disrupting the marriage bed and all this sort of thing. And he brought up the whole Sodom and Gomorrah story. So he was saying it's not just, men, is men, is husbands and wives too, which is a broader sense of it. But that's not what Sodom and Gomorrah is about. When they said they wanted to know these men, they were talking about interrogating them, dominating them, violence that they wanted to invoke on them. Judges 19, and a lot of them take it to mean sexual, because Judges 19 is a redo. It's part 2 of the story. It's the sequel. And so, of course, they, gang rape the concubine of the Israelite man in that story until she died. So, they have to one up the Sodom and Gomorrah story in that one. Yeah. Hold on, let me see here. Let me see what if I missed some comments that were good or thought invoking. All right. Well, that's an interesting thought. Hold on. Where did I see? I've seen this comment before. I think Arion, B. They say when you realize why males and females have nipples and understand what goes on inside the womb, one may incline someone is born gay. I wouldn't necessarily use that as evidence of someone being born gay. My jury is out on that whole situation thus far. But as far as nipples are concerned, there is a purpose for men having nipples. Nipples are not just to feed a baby, but nipples are also our weather meters, right? They tell us the temperature. It's kind of like when a mushroom comes, if you see mushrooms in the morning, the dew on the mushroom gives a weather report to the entire mycelial network, right? I was reminded of that yesterday, but it gives a weather report to the entire mycelial network. Men have nipples for a instinctive reason for understanding the conditions around us. And it's not just the nipples. Nipples, it's your hair on your body, all those things, but they're like weather vanes. And as far as that idea that everybody starts out female in the womb, I don't know if that's what you're going at by you say what happens in the womb. Everyone is not female in the womb. Your sexual organs develop later, but from the moment of conception, you are going to have male parts or female parts, or there is the instance of hermaphrodites, but you're going to have male parts or female parts. That sperm is either an XX sperm or it's an XY sperm. The XY sperm gets into the egg, it's going to have male parts unless there's some type of deformity. It's going to have male parts. So I was never a female in the womb, ever. The moment I was in the womb, I was going to be a male. The moment my daughter Sydney was in the womb, she was going to be female. Right now, who you fall in love with, what you're attracted to, I'm not going to put that as something that's biological. For me, it's not biological. In the same way, if you take a black guy and you raise him up in Sweden or Norway, it's most likely he's going to want a Swedish, a white woman, because that's the predominant thing that he sees. But also in the same way, we can see where you have a mixed child, if their father is black, if it's a girl and her father is black, generally they will end up with a black guy. If it's a boy and his mother is white, they will generally end up with a white woman. If it's a boy and his mother is black, they generally end up with a black woman. We can see that most of the time that's how that happens, because most people's first love is their parent of the opposite sex, and they're generally attracted to that, right? So, and we can see this in social studies. What am I reaching on? Are you talking about that as far as your nipples, or are you talking about gestation? What you're going to be in the womb? I'm curious to know what you're saying. I'm reaching on, Mephisto. But there are parts of our body that are instinctively for one thing that we don't even focus on, because we have lost our instinctual connection with nature as a society. Coach, isn't there a certain time in the womb when you can't tell? Yeah, there's a time in the womb we can't tell. We just don't have the technology to do so. Because I got some cousins that are flamboyant as all get out. And he came out playing with Barbie dolls, which that feeds into what Mephisto is saying as well. Explain gay men who are extremely feminine and only want to penetrate, never be penetrated. Explain that. Okay, so in both cases, there are certain aspects of it that we don't know, which is why I say the jury is out. There's a time frame in the womb where a male brain is washed over with testosterone. Is it possible? And I haven't researched any recent studies. This was in like 2010s when I saw a study that was talking about how the male brain is washed over with testosterone generally, but sometimes it doesn't happen. The brain could be washed over with estrogen or something. I have no idea. Hell, when when my daughter Simone was before she was born, she was going to be born 2 months early, right? She was because her mother had toxemia. She had toxemia with Sydney, so Sydney was born at 30 weeks. We was in Germany. They just that day that they realized she had toxemia at 7 months, they just took the baby. Boom. When Simone was born, well, when she was pregnant with the second child, who I named Simone, because she had the toxemia, she was at 30 weeks. They wanted her to see if they can push it, get her blood pressure down so that they can go through the cesarean more safely. One of the things that I recognized that they were giving, one of the drugs that they gave her was testosterone shots, right? And so later on, when Simone started demonstrating more masculine tendencies, I questioned, did those testosterone shots, because of course, whatever the mother gets, the baby is going to get. I questioned whether or not those testosterone shots affected Simone's behavior, right? I don't know. I never investigated it because I don't care. However my children decide to live their life, if they're living their life and they're not bothering other people, then I don't care how they live their life. Of course, there are certain aspects of their life I would prefer them to live, but at the end of the day, I don't care. I'm going to love them because they're my child, just as I love other people, simply for being themselves. Now, who you are is not somebody I would like, then shit, that's different. So we really don't know, right? And as far as some of honestly, playing with dolls, shit. I used to play with the Ken doll because my two people that I played in my generation for my family, my two cousins, Chanel and Sand, those were my playmates, my main playmates as a kid. And if I wanted to play with them, they were playing with dolls. So I was like, well, I'm gonna be Ken. And then later on, Ken got beat up by G.I. Joe. And so G.I. Joe was dating Barbie and driving the Barbie car. And I used to drive the shit out of that Barbie car too. So I don't look at, playing with dolls, having affinity, but I also watched a guy that I grew up with. His mother he had twins, and one of the twins, she would dress up as a girl and gave him a girl name and treated him like a girl, wouldn't let him come outside and play with the boys and all this kind of stuff. So to me, she engineered him to be the flamboyant guy that he turned out to be. And then sometimes, just like when you see those people who speak a certain way, that's not their real voice. That's not the real way that they talk. Like when you see those people like, oh my gosh, this is so great. You want that like that? That's acting. They've been hearing some other people or watching some people on TV, and that's how they start talking. And just like right now, how people end everything with, why, I don't know, wasn't nobody saying no shit like that in the early 2000s and before. It's a learned behavior. So some of this shit is learned behaviors, but people want to accept everything. They want to just justify everything as a natural thing. And so some of that stuff, it's culturally based. It's cultural, right? So some of it is some bullshit. I mean, some of it is cultural, but we want to try to make it seem like it's natural without looking at all the environmental things around it. Because every damn person walks around. Every person is 75% your environment. You're only 25% of your biology. Oh, and let me tell you, this pisses me off to no extreme. And the main reason why, the guy that I was talking about, the two twins, of course, when we got a little older, the one who was flamboyant, he got picked on. His brother would defend him all the time, but he got picked on. And one of the times that irritated the shit out of me, we was in junior high, and the other brother wasn't around to defend him. And so he gets into a fight. And yeah, most girl fights was pulling on the hair and in the windmill. And I'm looking at this dude, and he windmilling and shit. And trying to pull a dude's hair. Now, we had the hot top phase back then, but trying to pull a dude. I'm looking at him, and I remember later on talking to his brother. I was like, man, you need to tell your brothers he's still a dude and still got dude strength. He need to fight like a dude, because you ain't gonna be around to defend him all the damn time. That little, I'm doing all this shit, and I'm like, hell no, because I done seen the twin fight. The twin used to throw blows. So I'm like, this is some bullshit. But then it was kind of redeemed later on in my life. Well, we had one what do you call it? Cross-dresser. We had one cross-dresser in my city, but Steve used to hang out at Gold's Gym. Steve was diesel. And then this one drug dealer thought he was gonna mess with Steve all of a sudden one day. Steve didn't fight that. Steve wasn't windmilling. Steve, he beat that dude ass so bad he had to leave the city. Because Marietta was a close-knit neighborhood back then. And Steve and I beat the shit out of you. Steve whooped your ass. And in heels, my ad you. Steve was wearing heels that day. I saw it. It happened. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about, but it happened on Roosevelt Circle. Steve whooped his ass. And dude moved. Like a week later, you didn't see his ass no more. He moved to another side of Atlanta. Because Steve beat his ass. And, all that. So to me, some of that is just, it's cultural. It's conditioning. But at the end of the day, I don't care if it's cultural. I don't care if it's conditioning. I don't care if it's natural. I really don't care. A person should not be treated unfairly because of it, no matter how it developed. Right? So I'm not going to argue natural, indoctrination, cultural, environmental. It's not even a point to argue. The point to argue is no one should be treated unfairly because they choose to live their life in a way that's not violating the other people's ability to live their life. Do I think something? No, I don't think there's something in the food doing that. Honestly, it also goes through. So center star, think about this. I don't know how old you are. Me being 54 years old, I've seen the transition from it being something that was hidden, something that families didn't talk about, families tried to hide, to it being acceptable, to now it being glorified, right? I can look. If you want, you can. There are actually a lot of situations in the city, and I can only speak for the city of Atlanta. In the city of Atlanta, that being a gay man is more beneficial to you in industry than being a straight man in industry, right? And there are some industries that or even more so. Okay. Oh, just to think about it for a second. This is something that's more national. To be a fashion, to be in most fashion is ruled by men. It's not ruled by women. Fashion is ruled by men, right? But the men who can cross over and for both male and female as critics or designers or whatever, a gay man actually has some greater opportunities in fashion than other people do. So it's become trendy in a sense. It's also become trendy for a girl to have a gay best friend. I saw that become trendy. So is it cultural? Is it natural? It follows it follows whatever the culture does. I mean, so is it natural or is it a decision? The culture also develops it and deals with it. And some people choose it. I know some people choose it because it's trendy. But whether they do or don't, or do or not, this story is fuckery that it creates. It helps to create the environment because that's the biggest poster child for it. The biggest poster child for it. And I'm curious if there's, well, I know I was hoping that this would attract IG, that IG would be available right now. Because I love IG's stance on the fact that he realizes as a, how does he describe himself? A same gender loving man. Yeah, he describes it as a same gender loving man. I love the fact that he realizes that as a same gender loving man, he is not going to follow a God that hates the fact that he's a same gender loving man. Something that is a major portion, major aspect of his life. He's like, if the God don't like that, and that's who I am, and I'm not hurting anybody, but that God's gonna send me to hell for it, then why would I give that God any glory? Why would I worship that God? It makes no sense. And this is, it's funny that you mentioned this because I actually talked to some dudes who went through prostate cancer or going through prostate cancer or have their prostate taken out and have to go through the treatments. And one of the things that they complain about is the estrogen therapy that they go through because it changes their behavior, it changes their physical abilities. That was actually the premise of the premise of the conversation because we was talking about how he can combat some of that. So he definitely became a champion of eating melons, among some other things. But yeah, the general biology, estrogen is more naturally in women, testosterone, and they have low testosterone levels, and it's flipped for men, right? Yeah, that's the New Orleans guy. Right? Yeah, that's the New Orleans guy. But this is the hard part about doing any studies on that is you have to get it, the heaven is in the details. You gotta find out a lot of the person's history, their psychology, what's going on in their lives in order to really get an understanding. I don't think it's something that will be answered in our recent time. It may be answered at some point, but who knows? Who knows? We never know what's gonna happen in your lifetime. We never know. But if you listen to most Christians, they're going to trump up this story and not even realize that it's about being inhospitable, right? That was the great sin that this guy didn't know that he had to go check on, right? How is this guy, how does this guy not already know how many good people are in this city? And you telling me there was not at least 10 babies in this city? There had to be at least 10 babies in this city. There had to be 20 babies in the city. Most archaeologists recognize that these two cities were like the industrial hub, trading hubs of that region, in or around 2500, 2400 BCE, right? I extended it too far earlier when I said 2700, around 25, 2600, 25, 2300 BCE. These were industrial hubs, major trading ports. And there's not 10 babies, 10 adolescents run in this city, but this guy has to destroy the entire city? No. No. Mm-mm. You have to believe in your Jesus to make a comment like that? What comment? I don't know why y'all giving Fred any attention. Fred demonstrated himself to be a complete, we already know he's a liar, but it was on full demonstration in the fact that he did not show up this weekend as he proclaimed for months upon months. I've never heard this one. Christians say two things. Even the children were corrupted. They use this one as a reply to Numbers 31. I've never heard them say the children were corrupt. They always try to say that, oh, if who would raise those kids? In other instances, them Israelites had no problems taking the girls who have not known a man. Or they said the city was adults only. I've never heard that one either. I would laugh at a Christian if they said that it was adults only. This guy didn't bomb the city. According to the story, he bombed the city. But it was more likely a airburst from a meteorite. And we've seen that happen on Earth. Yeah, so we know that, and we've seen the results of that. So we know we have this. It's more than likely that's what happened. Oh, a free Christian said that to you on X. Oh, Fred in his feelings because he lied about being here this weekend. You should have known that on Monday I was going to dog the shit out the fact that you was a liar. That man claimed that there was no rooms in the whole damn city of San Antonio this past weekend. There was no rooms. I showed up, but there was no room. Ain't no way in hell you're going to drive all the way to a city or fly to a city and then sit up there and be like, oh, there's no room. You could have been standing at a hotel outside, outside the city. That is such a load of bullshit. Such a load of bullshit. All right. And that's the thing. If you're going to believe in this Bible and believe this book, you should not. Lying is one of the easiest things not to do, right? Out of all the sins, that's one of the easiest things not to do. No rooms for the close to y'all. The room across from me and my wife's room was empty the whole weekend. As a matter of fact, the majority of the floor that we stayed on the 11th floor. It was empty the majority of the weekend. As a matter of fact, there was one person who came down there. They wasn't sure because days earlier they weren't sure if they was going to come, so they had to cancel their reservation, but then they renewed their reservation, but they renewed it like the day before or the day of, and they came. They had room. There was plenty of room at the end. And he just keep on getting up here and lying. I should have wore my lion ass liar shirt. I should have wore it. Should have wore the lion ass liar shirt. Goddamn liar. I don't want the love from your Jesus. I don't want the love from your Jesus, dude. Keep your love from your Jesus. All right. If I tell y'all I'm gonna be somewhere, I'm gonna be there. If I can't, I'm gonna just tell you the truth of why I didn't show up. I'm not gonna make up something that's so ridiculous. It would have made more sense if Fred would have said, "Oh, I was on my way, but my car broke down and overheated, and I had to get towed back to this city, then pay this amount of money to get my car fixed, and I had to stay there over the weekend, and then I just went back home because I was I was driving and I got stuck in Houston or some podunk town." That would have been a better lie. So I'm gonna help you out, Fred. Change your lie to say that your car broke down and you couldn't get there. Or change your lie and say that, I was down in Jamaica and they closed the airport in Jamaica because of the storm. So that's why I couldn't make it, because they closed down and shut down all flights. If you're gonna make up a lie, do some research first, or make a lie that's justifiable. But to say that there was no rooms in a hotel, that there were plenty of rooms downtown that's easily verifiable, is bullshit. We could call that hotel now and ask what was their availability during the weekend, right? And find out. That hotel had a secondary building right next to that building. They had available rooms. There was a hotel across from our hotel. They had available rooms. There was a Marriott across from a Holiday Inn across. They had available rooms. Don't tell a lie that's easily debunked. Tell a good one. Your car broke down, overheated, had to get it fixed. That's a better lie, even though we can ask for the paperwork or the receipts. But you go sit up. There is absolutely no reason to lie. None whatsoever. Or just say, I changed my mind. I ain't want to be around y'all. I could accept that. I could have accepted that. Don't try to tell me to get back on subject. I can talk about what the hell I want to talk about. I'd accepted that one. I changed my mind. I didn't want to be there with y'all, surrounded by y'all. My God tells me not to hang around people like you. I haven't researched everything that's happened in Jamaica. You hear that 90% of churches in West Jamaica are now gone. I guess they weren't real Christians. But they're gonna find one though. Somebody's gonna find one. They're gonna find this church. Like, it's gonna be destruction all around the church, and then they're gonna be like, "But look at God kept this church. He God take care of the church building, took care of his house through all that storm." But they're not gonna talk about all the other churches that were destroyed, right? And they're not gonna talk about all the Christian homes that were destroyed. All the Christian, I don't know if there's a death toll in Jamaica. I know one of the videos I saw, Jamaican people crazy as hell. They were jumping up in the air with these coats on to see and getting thrown by the wind. Like they were like kids having fun. It was some kids having fun. I think they were kids, but they looked like adults. Looked like some dumb shit that I would do though. Actually, hell, if you was here for the weekend, was that Friday night? So Friday night, 4 of us, we shut down Devil's River. We was there until they closed. And that damn wind started blowing, and we thought about going to this rooftop bar, but that wind was blowing. I was like, shit, I could have jumped up in the air and that wind could have carried me away. Could have carried me away. But anyway. I wish that dude hadn't ran. I like the fact that he brought up archaeologists and made statements and claims about those archaeologists that they found these cities. But no archaeologists can, through peer review, have definitively said that this is the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. Even the closest one, which Tel El Hammam it could be the most likely candidate. One of the problems is that they haven't been able to identify the timeline for when the city was destroyed by what appears to be an airburst. Let me look it up. Let me make sure. I don't want to get that wrong. Let me make sure. Let me check for a second. So it's Tel El Hammam, Hammam. And they definitely think that there was an airburst. It's on the Jordan side of the Jordan River. And mind you, this is along the Jordan River. It is not, it's 12.6 kilometers northeast of the Dead Sea. So that's about, what, 15, 17 miles away from the Dead Sea, and it's on the north side of the Dead Sea. So it wouldn't fit the whole idea of being on the south side, right? And the Bible says that it was on the south side of the Dead Sea. So that in itself already says that, nope, that can't be it. If it's on the south, if it's on the north side, according to our biblical guy who got on here and saying on the south side. You see, that's third millennium. That's too early. Okay, so it has to be some Bronze Age, but that's occupation during the Iron Age. I'm just scanning through it real quick, looking for keywords that would hopefully qualify it. This is an interesting part of the article, and this is from the Wikipedia article. Attempts have been made to link the site with the legendary biblical city of Sodom, a claim rejected both by scientists and by other biblical literalists. In 2016, a team of the University of Oxford noted that the excavation had resulted in an insignificant disruption to the ancient mound, and archaeologists have expressed concern by the linking to the site of Sodom. The excavation encouraged looting and illegal trade antiquities because objects marked explicitly to people seeking the tangible connection to the biblical story are in high demand. So people are stealing it. Oh, there's an article. Part of the article says discredits the airburst. So yeah, I see. Universe posted time, man. Was destroyed calculations by an airburst. 2/3 of the authors, members from the Council of Reserve, which also claims that the Younger Dryas were the cause of the comet impact. The theory was presented in conjunction with the claim that the site had been the source of biblical story of Sodom and Gomorrah. The paper was widely criticized as pseudoscience, including by Mark Boslow, a physicist citing the paper. Elizabeth Bick, an expert investigating scientific misconduct, showed that the author altered many of the images used as evidence. Oh, a March 2022 review of the evidence for the impact even states that the proper criteria for showing an airburst has not been met. Okay. February 2023, the following editor notes was posted on this page. Readers are alerted that concerns raising about the idea presented in the conclusion of this article are being considered by editors. The further editor response will be allowed. Okay, so they need to update this. Oh, because scientific reports issued a formal retraction of the original study, citing errors in methodology, analysis, and data interpretation. So it's possible we are still, so Tel El Hammam is still being investigated, still has to figure it out, but it definitely is not the story. It definitely can't be Sodom. You said that it was a city of aliens. I have strong evidence that Sodom and Gomorrah was not a city of gay people. Well, it wasn't a city of gay people in first. The Bible is not even claiming that. But it was a technological advanced city that was destroyed by extraterrestrials beings pretending to be gods. So are you talking about the Sumerian story version of the Sodom and Gomorrah? Because that would be the Sumerian Akkadian version. Well, one of their versions. They have multiple versions because you're talking about a story that's been told over 3 to 4,000 years by different sects of people who are still reigning over the same empire. So Akkadians and Sumerians flip-flopped as to who was in control. But in their story, it is Enlil destroys these cities because he's in a war with Marduk. But somebody said that the adults, Numbers 31:17, where a guy says adults abused and perverted them, the children. Numbers 31. Isn't that about isn't that one of those? Let me see. Let me go look. I don't even want to say. Let me look first. The only thing I don't like about this microphone is that it's sitting in between me and my laptop, so typing is not the easiest thing to do. Now, if you're going to claim some aliens, we're going to need some evidence of some aliens. I'm going to need some evidence. Numbers 31:17 and 18. This is their war against Midian. I thought that that's what this was. Yeah, that is. Now, therefore, kill every male among the little ones and kill every woman who has known a man. And this is when the situation of known, meaning having sex between a man and a woman, by sleeping with him. But all the young girls who have not known a man by sleeping with him, keep alive for yourselves. Yes, these are the Israelites who are abusing these children. This is not the people of Sodom. I don't know if you meant it how you meant it, but that's not the people of Sodom. That's the Israelites in their war against the Midianites when they abuse these young girls, because they would take them in their house, keep them as servants. When they come of age, then they would force themselves on these young girls. And I would imagine some of them probably forced themselves before they came of age. Right. And there is no way a Christian should be able to defend that. There's no way anybody in the Abrahamics should be able to defend that. You know. But that does demonstrate how earlier I was saying that in the instances where the word yada has a sexual connotation, it is always between a man and a woman. In any other time that is used, it is used to mean to treat somebody inhospitably, to know them is to interrogate them, to dominate them, to enact violence on them. It has other features than just a sexual orientation, a sexual matter. And so when they know the little girls or the girls who have known a man, it says by sleeping with them, which lets you know that that's what they're indicating in that story. Yeah, but people, they will try. I can't see how a Christian can defend that. When I was a Christian, I had a hard time defending that. The only thing that you can say, God's will, God's justice. We can't decide if that's good or bad because God is the arbiter of that decision. And that's bullshit. Nothing but utter bullshit. That's just excusing yourself to be able to still believe in this book. And then, or their defense is, well, that's Old Testament. We're in the New Testament. But there's nothing in the New Testament that goes against that. But Anyway, if you guys want to talk about something else, we can talk about something else. It doesn't seem that we're going to have any challenges to this story. We had the one Christian, but he gave up real quick because I wouldn't accept what he called proof as proof. I'm not going to accept his circumstantial evidence. Now, since y'all don't know what y'all want to talk about, let me go ahead. So, based on the consensus, and I know that, so for the 3 people, is it 3? Yeah. There was 3 people who weren't part of this conversation. It wasn't a planned conversation. Let me say that. It wasn't a planned, yeah, it's open mic. It wasn't a planned conversation. Oh, yeah. Sam. And to all my other devil dogs out there, happy birthday, Marines. 250th birthday of the United States Marine Corps in 1776 at Tongue's Tavern. The Marine Corps was formed. And that is so appropriate that the Marine Corps was birthed at a damn bar. First Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps and the first Commandant of the Marine Corps established the Marine Corps at Tongue's Tavern. Went to the bar to recruit. It's where we recruited our first Marines, was in the bar. Where is, damn, if I had thought about it, I have a replica of Tongue's Tavern too. For the, what year? I forgot what birthday year that they made a certain number of them. That's right. Happy birthday to all my Marines. Simplify. But yeah, some of y'all wasn't there. I'm just waiting for people to put other stuff up, other questions up there. That we did have a discussion about where the next meetup, or how the next meetup, and it was agreeable for the people who were in the room. The other 3 people, I'll have to give you a call. I'm going to have to reach out to you to see what your thoughts on it. Just know that you're already outvoted, but I'll still see what you got to say about it. You're already outvoted, but I'm going to see what you got to think about it. Yeah, but we've already done it. And then yesterday, me and my wife did some research, so we're going to see. It was a volcano. Archaeologists proved this during the Younger Dryas Dig. That's one of the theories. If you're talking about Sodom and Gomorrah, one of the theories, but the volcano part, I think they debunked that. We're not. We still don't know what caused the Younger Dryas flood. It could have been a flash and a comet explosion in our atmosphere. Could have been. A lot of people lean towards the some solar winds or solar flare, rather. So we don't know exactly what caused the Younger Dryas. What we do know is that 400 feet of that the sea levels rose 400 feet, and that would have flooded the 400 feet of coastal. It would not have covered any mountains. But most of the flood stories probably come from that. Most of the worldwide flood stories pretty much come from that. Other flood stories, it always amazes me when Christians try to say, oh, the Chinese had a flood story. They specifically were talking about the Yellow River. They were not talking about, and never claimed that the whole world was flooded. See, Dwayne just had to put it out there. This has been the consensus of, I wasn't going to say nothing today, but since he put it on the damn feed, this has been the consensus of when our next meetup will be. for October of next year. All right, October of next year. I'll have more information coming forthwith. And for more information to come. Yeah, and see, I like how Isaac just corrected the hell out of Rupert. Rupert was claiming that it was the Pharaoh's fault that the firstborn in Israel, the firstborn of Egypt died. Except the problem is that before Moses even supposedly went back to Egypt, the Pharaoh said that I will harden his heart. And then the next two times, this guy said that he will harden Pharaoh's heart. So this guy did all the hardening. Did you used to play Dungeons and Dragons back in the day? Nope. Never played Dungeons and Dragons. Don't know if it didn't, unless you're talking about the video game. Played the video game Dungeons and Dragons where you was going in there, the two dudes would go fight. They were fighting with different stuff. Like if I played that, but as far as the card game, no. Look here. If I'm gonna be a dungeon master center star, it'll be a different kind of dungeon. I'll be a different kind of dungeon master. If I'm gonna be a dungeon master. Yeah, I'll be a different kind. But of course, back in the day, according to these sodomy laws, they put me in jail and took my property and killed me for being a dungeon master. That's why these religions are so culturally based, right? If you think about some of the things that happens in dungeons, modern day dungeons, in red rooms, sex rooms, whatever you want to call them, y'all will be persecuted. All these men and women who love that book, something gray somebody, not Gray's Anatomy. What is the damn book? It's somebody gray that they made a movie out of. Y'all would go to jail and be killed and have your property taken. Did you ever play with a Ouija board? Nope. I've never actually seen a physical Ouija board. I've seen the box in the store, but I've never physically have seen a Ouija board. 50 Shades of Grey. Thank you. Yeah. And you know, that book cannot be a New York bestseller. The movie cannot make money unless Christians are going to see it. Christians have to see it in order for it to make money, read it to make money, right? But 20, 30, 40 years ago, you were seen as a deviant. 100 years ago, you could be executed for that. That is how dangerous it is. I don't know, these TikTokers keep jumping up and jumping off. I guess they scared. That is how dangerous it is, or it could be somebody accidentally doing it. My bad. That's how dangerous this Bible is. It's the most dangerous book ever written, because it creates this mentality of giving you the freedom to kill people, to maim people, to take property from people, to enslave people, to treat women like trash. If they wrote 50 Shades of Grey in the 1930s, that person would have been publicly executed. Well, let me rephrase that. They would have been, what's the word? Socially executed. They would have been socially executed. They would have been seen as a pariah, a deviant. They only would have been able to have any financial success in the underworld, which was very prevalent, ran by Christians, participated by Christians. And that is the sad part about it. That is the sad part about it. This book doesn't allow you to be yourself. It doesn't allow a person to express themselves, to grow, right? It still makes you into one mindset. Well, what should be one mindset. But of course, we got thousands of denominations, so there is not one mindset within this religion. There are thousands of mindsets. And even within those denominations, you got different mindsets in that. You got your pastor lead a church, go home with his wife, and they pulling out the choking ball or the chokers and the little gag balls and the whips and the toys. And then the associate pastor is going home and they just, no, baby, we can only do it missionary. That's because God only wanted missionary. And his wife down there like, this shit boring. It's like you're not thinking, you can't think for yourself in this religion. You cannot think for yourself in this religion. You have to follow whatever the hell they tell you to follow. Right? All right. We're going to have another conversation. Oh. I guess that was an accident. That was an accident on Vincent's part. But you have to conform to their thought process. That's right, Sherry. TD Jakes preaching. Then I'm going to go show up at the Diddy party. Let me go to the Diddy party. How you got a preacher showing up at the Diddy party? Even if none of the other criminal stuff came out or was happening, not came out, but was happening. Let's just say none of that stuff was happening. No preacher should ever be at the Diddy party. No Christian should ever have been at the Diddy party. Whether he was bringing women in, had underage women, whatever the situation was, no preacher, no Christian should have ever been at a Diddy party. He certainly wasn't there preaching the gospel. He was being swallowed up. What up, Vincent? How you doing? Vincent. You must got some background noise. Marion said he hate that he never been to one. Miller said that somebody had to bless the food. Okay. Let me see how bold y'all are. Put a 1 in the comment if you wish you had been to a Diddy party. Or a Diddy-like party. Let's see how revealing you guys are. How confident you are in being yourself. How many of you would go to a Diddy-like party? Marion put that 1 in there real quick. What the hell does a 9 mean, Kevin? Like, you'll go there 9 times? That's one question. I don't know what a 9 means. Shadow bonded on Google and YouTube, so being sounds removed. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Sinistar said a 0. Now, I mean, just put a 1 if you would go. I ain't saying how many times you've been to a Diddy or Diddy-like party. I'm not trying to see something that I can't unsee. I've been to a phone party. What's a phone party? Aaron said 1. He said he'd go, but he had to leave before 1:30 because don't nothing good happen after midnight. No, I'm saying if you would go just a 1, or wish you had been to one, just a 1, not how many times. They like men at those parties. Bikinis and foam. So that's a foam party, bikinis and foam. Why they gotta have, what's the purpose of the foam? Is that like when they had them parties where everybody got them candlesticks and little glow sticks, but it's just foam? Or when they got foam all over the it's like the floor is covered with foam and it's all over the goddamn place. That might get on my nerves. All the foam. The bikinis I don't mind, but all the foam would get on my nerves. Cause I seen a thing where they had the foam all over the floor, or they had the bubbles and shit. Or it was look like soap bubbles and shit all over the floor, like a bubble bath. No, that's gonna get on my nerves. Cause some of it gonna get stuck to my contacts. See, one of the things I hate about contacts is that fumes and shit get stuck to your contacts and the shit start bothering me. I would think that some of that shit gets stuck to my contacts. It's gonna get on my nerves. Bikini part, I'm good. Foam part, not so much. I go to the Diddy party. Bring my own baby oil. Hey, just squirting everybody. Just squirt everybody with the baby oils. People be slipping, falling, busting their ass. Vincent. Dwayne said he'd go. Said mess up your hair. Vincent, how you doing? I got you. I can barely hear you.
What is he talking about, brother? You have to come back.
I'm saying TDJ shouldn't have been at the Diddy party. They hypocrites. That man he was putting baby oil on people. He was blessing them. Yeah. Oh. But he shouldn't. I don't know what he was getting his freak on.
Now, brother Zoe, you have to stop this backsliding. You've been backsliding too much. You're leading these people down the wrong path. Like you're really doing it.
No.
Like you
yeah. I'm trying to soothe their soul, trying to let them have a true afterlife where they're not condemned to a lake of fire. Unless there's a party in there, you know, we singing Nelly songs at the party.
Well, there's a certain belief that you're supposed to go to the sun when you leave. So, what are you doing?
We're trying to have fun, enjoy ourselves, love our life.
No, I just came in time to play around.
I know.
I wish I had the camera working. I was trying to get the camera to work.
You want to personify? You want to project it out?
No, I got a funnier thing going on, but I don't know how to do it.
You should have a camera button, and they probably have the line through it, and so you just click on that.
Yeah, I thought it didn't work. I'll be playing around more.
All right. Later. Oh, Teresa said she'd go to the Diddy party. Teresa gonna be at the Diddy party. Oh, he said he had Sinister said he had that olive oil. I want to get LASIK. I have a problem with putting stuff in my eye. It used to take me 30 minutes just to put one contact in. But I'll probably get LASIK at some point. We need to meet up. We can meet up. We go. So let me stop. Because y'all gonna think, oh, there might actually be a second meetup, a shamanic meetup. I was talking to a dude yesterday. We might have a shamanic meetup. Oh, not me. Okay, I got you. It might be a shamanic meetup. Definitely gonna have another bigger meetup. Teresa, yeah, you weren't in the room. See, you left too early. We wind up having a nightcap, Teresa. And in the nightcap, we discussed the next meetup. We might, but I'll contact you and see what your thoughts are on that as well. Yeah, because you weren't in there. It was Sharon. Yeah, she went in there. Yeah, after y'all had left, we wound up having a nightcap. It was too cold to go to the rooftop bar, so we just had a little nightcap. How the hell did we get to the Diddy party? I don't even remember how we got to the Diddy party. Marion, you know, we had our meetup this past weekend here in San Antonio, our first annual meetup here in San Antonio. No cordial discussion. What type of rules are that? I don't know what you're talking about. Muslim. Yeah, don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, you know, that is one of the hypocritical funny things to me. Christians will harp on, you know, we finna turn this conversation to a sexual conversation. So if you're scared of sexual conversations, you may need to bow out right now. So for this last 45 minutes before I get off here, because I do have some errands I gotta run. Oh, that's right, you was working. I forgot. This conversation about Sodom and Gomorrah, they have utilized it to inhibit people's sexual desires, right? And one of the things that I found incredible, one of the things that I struggled with actually when I was a Christian. So I'm gonna be transparent, and yeah, you guys know I'm very transparent. So one of the things that I struggled with was the fact that being a Christian, some of the things that I like sexually, I was being taught that those were sinful, right? I only had one pastor that was saying that whatever a couple decides to do, if they agree upon it, then the marriage bed is not defiled, right? But every other pastor, except for that one, if you participated in any other type of sexual activity, whether it was oral, it was anal, it was swinging, it was polyamory, polygamy, it was BDSM, it was sadomasochist, having toys, all these things, or being an exhibitionist, voyeurism, watching other, that's watching other people or being watched. If you don't know some of these things that I'm saying, it's just let me know and I'll tell you what they are. And I was a student of sex, from a young age. I found it to be an incredibly interesting subject matter, right? And so I had to inhibit that aspect, right? Yeah, it was I have to talk to you about it, IB. The conversation happened right after you and Dwayne left. With the little guy who was sitting next to Dwayne, I shouldn't call him little guy, but with the guy who was sitting next to Dwayne, he was ear hustling, but it was a good thing. I had to inhibit a lot of my sexual desires when I was a Christian. So one of the freeing things when I deconstructed was the fact that I didn't have to inhibit those things anymore. All right. Let me do the little thing again. If you had to inhibit your sexual desires when you were a Christian, put a 1 in the comments. If you felt like you had to inhibit those things, put a 1 in the comments. Like what? Like whatever it is. Well, did you have to inhibit oral sex? Did you have to inhibit anal sex? Did you have to inhibit using toys? Did you have to inhibit swinging or polyamory or polygamy or BDSM or sadomasochism? Or did I say toys? Yeah, I said toys. Or voyeurism, right? Even if you did participate, even if you did those things, did you feel bad? Because I didn't think about that. So thank you, Kevin. Even if you didn't and stop doing those things, Sherry said, I see a lot of ones. I understand you felt like you couldn't do those things, right? If you did do it, Kevin said, I just asked for forgiveness. Then just ask for forgiveness. When you did do those things, I would grieve about it, but then I would ask for forgiveness, and then I go back and I do it again, right? But I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that I have had relationships break up because of that very thing, because I was feeling like that sexual angst was in there, that I wanted this, but then I'm with this person and then we trying to not do it because of the Bible, or they definitely not doing it because of the Bible. And we couldn't explore our sexual freedoms. And so because we couldn't explore it, other problems get personified to be bigger than they really are, right? This is why when I'm talking to people, I'm like, you got to be in the same mindset when it comes to money and comes to sex, and to some people, politics. But this religion is the thing that will throw all that off. And then this minor thing that normally would not bother you now becomes a big issue, because your real problem is that you feeling sexually frustrated, right? And that sexual frustration just messes up your relationships, and they can mess you up personally, because now you go all this time frame feeling it, wanting it. And if it drives you strong enough, it could cause you to put yourself in not the best situation. All right. Show us pics or videos from the meetup, coach. That will be, I'm going to make a video about it. So give me a day or two. I was going to do it yesterday, but we wind up still being out yesterday until about 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then got home, and it was just like unpacking, doing laundry, and all that. So it'll be later. You'll get one. You'll get a video. But I can tell you, the more and more by the time after I walked away from Christianity, I still had some of it. Still had some of that inhibitions. But then within a few years of walking away from this religion, it felt so free just to be my sexual self. Not everybody was cool with it. And it was like, oh, you're not cool with that? That's fine. See you later. It's not going to work for me, because I'm never going back to that. Never will I ever go back to that. All right. So it's cool that I'm glad to see that I wasn't the only one that was. I mean, I know I wasn't the only one. I've talked to a bunch of people, but I'm glad it's good to know that it's good to know you weren't the only one, that you weren't the only one that was feeling guilty or been made to feel guilty because of that. So what gang are you from? In Christianity? Baptist. So it was good to know. It's good to know when you're not the only one, but it's also even better to know that you can do whatever. I do like what that pastor said, that as long as y'all are in agreement, but I take it beyond just like married people, because whatever. As long as you're doing what you're doing and you ain't hurting nobody, everybody is in consent, has mutual consent for it. I don't care. I used to feel guilty if I dreamed about it. And I dream every day, every night I dream. And every night those dreams are very vivid. And I've had a lot of those I've had dreams about stuff. And I used to feel guilty, feel bad. Oh, I had a dream. Oh, let me tell you something I felt really bad about. Do y'all remember? And I was talking to Angelina about this a couple weeks ago. I was so much interested in sex and different forms and things that people do and all this sort of thing. Do y'all remember Penthouse Forum magazine? And Penthouse Forum was like stories that people would write, and they would send those stories in, and then they would publish those stories. I thought it was a brilliant business because you don't even have to provide your own material. Somebody else is providing the damn material for you. That was a brilliant business. But I used to read those. And then I wrote one and sent that damn thing in. Like, that's where my interest was that deep that I would write a whole goddamn sex story, right? And basically, I'm writing a story about what I would really love to have in my own life, but I can't have it because I'm Christian, and Christians don't do that, right? That ain't what Christians do, right? What? Oh, that's a late comment. But yeah, so it was. And then even after I wrote the story and everything, I felt guilty about writing the story. Felt bad about it. Wished I could have pulled the story. Wish I could have just, this is before the internet got big. So wish I could have like found out where it was in the postal service and retracted that damn story. Because I was Christian. I felt guilty. I shouldn't even be writing stories about that. I shouldn't have these feelings. I shouldn't have these thoughts. I shouldn't have these desires, And so it created that whole thing. And that was stressful. That was incredibly stressful, right? So when I got incredibly frustrated with my marriage situation, and after what, 11, 12 years of that frustration, got caught, and I used to say it differently, but I'm gonna say it the way I want to say it now. Got caught at the right time in the right environment and fulfilled some of that shit. Was fulfilling stuff left and right. From a relationship standpoint, it was completely wrong. But personally, I felt great. And then I would go through a shame. Then I would feel guilty. Then I would feel shame. And then I would then I'd be good. And then I get frustrated. And then at the right amount of frustration, the right situation come along, participation, shame and guilt, then try to be good, then get frustrated, and circle on back again until that last time in the 17th year, I had the great 5 years. I was straight and narrow, but I had so much frustration that I just had to get out. It pushed me to the point where I was like, I can't, I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. I'm 36 years old, not doing this for the rest of my life. I can't do this no more. Right. I'm not, and when you're 36, 50 seemed like it's a long ass time away. 60 and 70, that's forever. That's an eternity away. 80, 90, oh my goodness. And I was already planning on back then that I was going to live to be 150. That's just too far. I'm not finna go 3 lifetimes, three more lifetimes and live like this. So when the question was asked, do you want a divorce? Yep. And yeah, that was hard to go through. But when I came out the other side, it was so freeing, incredibly freeing. Right. And then it was difficult. You meet somebody, hey, how you doing? My name's Renz. What's your name? Oh, okay, nice to meet you. So, what are your sexual things that you like? Oh, that's all you do? Well, I like these things. Oh, that don't work with you? Okay, it was nice talking to you. So, we could be friends. That's about all we can do. But that's it. Hey, how you doing? What's your name? What do you like? Oh, that's what you like? we can do something else. We can be even closer. Even that was free. That was hard at first, but that became freeing as well. Oh, Teresa must be behind. She said, yes, I used to read them. Yeah, those were good stories. I'm gonna be 200. Yep. Wait a minute. What was it? So wait. Hold on. I missed something here. What was that? Oh, you're absolutely right. No matter what your sexual fetish is, coach, at least you're not a pedo priest. Hell no, yeah, that part. You know what, Brian? I think Brian said that. Like I said, I'm too damn transparent. I remember I met this one girl, this one young lady, and you know, I met her online. We talked we discussed things online through one of them online apps. We talked on, it was one of the ones that make you go through 11 questions and stages, and I was going to go through every goddamn stage. By the time you go on the first date, it feel like it's you on your 10th date because you're not talking to this person so much. You're not revealed so much about yourself so much. And you saw the picture. So she was cute. I didn't realize how small she was. This one was tiny as hell. So we went on that date, and we did a little kissing. But she was tiny. Even in her clothes, I couldn't tell how tiny she was. About a week later, we get into some, bro. Yeah, I know you're putting Tony Brown. She wasn't just tiny short. She was tiny small. And, about a week later, we get into a little hanky-panky, a little shakalaka boom boom. And everything was fine at first. Until she was walking in front of me. And when she was walking in front of me, with such a small structure, and I know what played a part in it is that my oldest child was only 12. So to me, walking behind her, she looked like she would be 12. Like by that time frame when my daughter was 12, I had never seen her naked at 12 years old. Of course, that's no, you don't see your 12-year-old naked. That's like, no, they don't do that. But she looked like what a little kid. I had to break the relationship. I was like, no, this ain't gonna work. But I was like, you look like a kid from behind. I can't do that. I couldn't do it. I used to read in-house magazine. Y'all must be on delay. But no, I was like, that's when I realized that I have a range, but I thought my range only went up. I didn't realize my range also went down. Like there was a such thing as too damn small. That was too damn small. All right. Yeah, it was just too damn small. I was just like, and just walking behind her, I was just looking. That was the only thing on my mind. I was like, damn, she looked like a kid. How am I going to do this? I don't think I can do it. It was too late to say that. It was too late the action done happened, but it wasn't too late to end the relationship because that thing got ended. Now she did a couple other things right after that made me want to end it as well. But that was the main thing. So I don't even understand how these men see a little girl and get attracted to it. Like when I saw her from behind, all my attraction left. All the attraction was gone. There was no more attraction. Like it was as if somebody just pulled a plug and all the attraction drained out. Just didn't make any sense to me. So when I see these stories, like there's a story out right now about one of these MAGA guys who's a pastor, and he just got charged with child abuse, sexual child abuse. Where do they find that within themselves? And that goes back to Numbers, what was it, Numbers 31, where they have these ideas of you take the young girls and make them as your wives. Like, that makes no sense. None whatsoever. Can't see it. You know, after that moment, I was 37 years old, 37, 38 years old. You got to be grown. You got to have a grown woman body. Can't have no little kid body. That took me, you know, and ladies, don't get mad at me, but a lot of men fetishizes like Asian women, especially the Vietnamese women. And if you're Vietnamese, don't be mad at me. They're too little. Like on average, when I see a lot of, you know, see some of these, and in the Marine Corps, you see a lot of that, right? But I never thought about that man's wife or that man's girlfriend or whatever. But it's like, no, a lot of them look so damn tiny. How can you go there? I would have to look at that person face to face the whole time so I can see that, no, this is a grown person. This is a grown person. If they try to turn around, walk backwards. I need to know that you're grown. You need to be grown the whole time. You can never walk. You can never turn around and walk. You got to walk this. You got to walk backwards so I can see your face. No. But anyway, let me get back. It was freeing to be able to say that just because I like this or that with a grown ass woman, and I can do it, and I can participate, and I can do whatever. And as long as we are both in agreement, that's all that matters. You know, it was one of those freeing things. And I know the Christians like to say, oh, you only want to walk away from God so that you can go out and do all the evil things you want to do. If you are voyeuristic, it's not evil. If you like being watched, not evil. If you swing, not evil. If you have more than a girlfriend, you know, polyamory, not evil. Polygamy, not evil. If you like BDSM, not evil. If you like sadomasochism, it's not evil. Do what you want to do. If you like toys, it's not evil. I encourage every man to become a toy master. Toy master. Because one day you're going to get old. But not just because you're going to get old, but you just should. Your focus, I had some of the best advice I was given when it comes to that realm was always focus on pleasing the other person. And if the other person is focused on pleasing you, then everybody's going to be pleased. So what does money and the Bible have in common? You have to be more specific. You have to be more specific on that question. Or it seems like it might have been a rhetorical question. But yeah, as long as everybody's in agreement, I don't care. If you went to the Diddy party and everybody was in agreement, have your fun. You know, I wouldn't be mad at TD Jakes if he wasn't trying to be a pastor and he was at the Diddy party. Have your fun, Diddy. Now, I don't know all the particulars around that case, so I don't know if there was young women involved, you know, underage people involved. I don't know if there was any force involved. I don't even get mad at people who pay for it. If you want to pay for it, pay for it. That man got a motorcycle. He cranks up but never rides. He never rides the damn bike. Oh, so that must be his girlfriend riding because that actually moved. No. But even if you pay for it, right? And that used to cause me a lot of issues. I was like, hold on. Judah wasn't considered unrighteous because he paid for some, or he tried to pay for some prostitute. He was deemed unrighteous because he lied about giving up his son. I used to ask pastors, make that make sense. Make that make sense. That now we demonize women and men who participate in the sex industry. Yeah. Okay, he just bringing it out. He ain't riding it. He don't ever ride that bike. It's a nice bike too. Said, listen, TD Jakes, what made you leave? I'm with you. The Bible and money, common denomination is money. Okay. I don't know where you're really going with that. The Bible and money, common demon something. Oh, because they both use printers. Okay. Hold on. He was there praying and anointing with the oil. That's what he was doing. He was praying and anointing people with oil. I'm gonna bless you right now. Nah, he was probably providing forgiveness. Oh yeah, the party's over, everybody. CTD Jake's at the door. God forgives you and bless you. God forgive 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 you and bless you. God forgive. See y'all at the next party. Let me look in the mirror. God forgive you and bless you. But if he wasn't Christian, I wouldn't care. I don't think Lot's wife was literally turned into salt. One, no, because the story is a false story. And I mean, if you believe the story, then he was, but it's a false story. Yeah, I've seen Caesar's Messiah. It has some good points, but it also has some points that are, wait a minute, Caesar's Messiah. I'm thinking about something. I've seen it. I can't remember it. I don't remember most of it. It has, but even that, it has some of the things it claims as facts are still just theories. All of it is not facts. I haven't seen it in a long time though. I haven't seen that one in a while. Marion is about to come up. Marion.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
What's up, man?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Man, this talk, I'm hearing you say a lot of crazy stuff, but I'm with you.
What I say is crazy.
Yeah, because you're everywhere. You want TJ, you say you have a problem with him about his profession, but at the same time, he have a title, but he's still a man at the end of the day, and he have a physical body too. You know, you can only be real with yourself, and not go by these doctrine and teaching that man put down. You have you first.
Okay.
You gotta feel you before, you know, and I understand, like, even if it was our kid or TJ or you or anyone else showed up to a idiot party, you know, I don't know what goes on about hearing the story, but hey, I would like to participate with some of that stuff. I'm just being honest with myself. What people put down said, oh, it's okay to do this, okay to do that. I'm going with what I feel, you know. I would like to, you know, participate in some of that. And I don't think TD Jakes will be told it wrong, because at the same time, not everybody eyes gonna see you at that party. You know, it's not for everyone to see, it's not for everyone to hear.
You cannot be a man who is professing the Bible and professing sexual morality, yet you go to a place that is directly opposing the sexual morality that you are teaching people. Now, that would be like a man who is a pedophile owning a daycare center.
Oh, no. I don't understand. I don't try to communicate or I don't try to sympathize with it no type of way, because I don't see it, I don't understand it. But as far as me, being a pastor or being a deacon for so many years in a church, but yet still, I understand this image that I'm professing, but I understand I do have flesh. I still have crime. I still have to deal with it. So, yes, I might show up at a party, but my congregation ain't gonna be at this party.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. If you a pastor and you're talking about and you're going to preaching people and saying that, you know, you're supposed to just have sex with you and your wife. That's it. Anything else is adultery. You sinning against God. You think it's okay for him to show up at a sex party?
No. be honest, no, I do not. But at the same time, he's a human being. He ain't perfect.
It don't matter.
I understand.
That don't matter. Wait a minute, hold on. That does not matter. If I'm going to profess to be something, I cannot then secretly go do the opposite of what I profess.
It's people watch.
Not just people watching, your God is watching, but you are failing yourself, right? That's why I said if he was not a preacher, I wouldn't have any problems with him showing up at a sex party because he's doing what he want to do. Right. If you're I'm also saying if you are claiming to be a Christian, you are claiming to follow the Bible, you should not be showing up at a sex party. Because that goes against what your Bible is teaching. So no, he doesn't get a pass because he got flesh and he ain't perfect. There are certain levels of imperfection that are acceptable, and there are certain levels of imperfection that are not acceptable at all. And that's one of them. That's like a nun, a woman who's dressed as a nun, works at all that shuffling. But that's like a woman who is a nun, but she goes to sex parties, and then she go back to the nunnery. Hell no. No, that's not gonna work.
What you saying it because of her title or his title? Because you have people who do it every Saturday in their church every Sunday.
Mm-hmm. And
because of their title?
And exactly, because according to the Bible, preachers, bishops, deacons are held to a higher standard and are judged to a higher standard. That's the Bible tells them that. So you're supposed to, in order for you to lead, you got to be better than the people you leading.
Correct.
So you can't tell people they shouldn't be going to sex parties and then you going to a sex party. You can't do it. And like I said, you're judged higher. You're supposed to be of a better cloth. Have you ever read the requirements for a bishop and a deacon?
No, not interested.
No, not what?
No, I'm not interested.
No, so you've never read it because you're not interested in it?
No, because I'm not interested. That's just wasted time for me. Because I won't care about the qualification the man gave for me to be a deacon or a preacher.
I mean, I'm saying, but if you're a Christian, are you a Christian?
No, sir.
Okay, but well, I don't remember everything. But if you, so do you think a Christian should have read that, right?
To each man's own. I don't make rules for people. Don't
come on, man. That's not a trick question. You don't think a Christian should have read the Bible?
Trying to be a Christian, trying to be a better Christian. Yes, I think that's
right.
The first step.
Okay, so a Christian should read the Bible. So definitely someone who's a deacon or a pastor of any sort, any leadership should have read the Bible, and they should have read the requirements of a deacon or a bishop, which tells them that they should be chaste, that they should have only one wife, that they should be above reproach as far as what the people that they're teaching. So a pastor or deacon who's going to sex parties should not be at a sex party because they're supposed to be better.
Well, Vincent said earlier, maybe he was there to save people.
Man, come on.
We
know
it was intention, but at the same time,
he shouldn't even been there at all.
I'm not T.D. Jakes. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a deacon. I'm a Christian. Okay, but my belief about it, I just spoke on it about T.D. Jakes in it. You know, I'm trying to sympathize with him, even though I know he's a leader. You know, he needs to flop.
All right, I ain't
he's hurt me. He's still hurt me. He's still hurt me, man.
I don't care.
Trying to get people to see.
I don't care.
He's still hurt me.
I don't care. I could care less. I'm a human, unfortunately, but the difference is that I recognize my faults. I recognize where I don't have faults, but I also recognize that if I'm going to be a leader if I'm going to be a leader of people, The things that I'm trying to lead them towards, I have to have that on lock myself.
Correct.
Right? Like you wouldn't go take a financial advice from a poor person, would you? And they own debt. They got like all this credit card, and not just poor because they don't have the economics. So let me not say that, because you can be poor but still have great financial management. But you wouldn't take financial advice from someone who does not have doesn't have good personal financial management, would you?
Oops, no.
So why would I take sexual morality advice from someone who is doing something that our book says is sexually immoral? If you're a Christian, yes.
Yeah, you threw me out and said her.
Yeah. If you're a Christian, you should only take Christian advice from someone who's living the Christian life. If they ain't living, I ain't taking it.
But look at this. Whatever TD Jakes or you or I, no matter what level we in, I don't think it's enough space or enough time in my life for me to try to judge or condemn another human being. I'm gonna leave it up with him being his maker.
There where he,
because like you said, you felt guilty for doing your wrong, so what made you feel wrong? You had your own guilty conscience.
Okay,
but you got the same thing.
But you don't do that.
So
you don't do that. You judge a pedophile, don't you?
What you mean I judge him?
You judge a pedophile.
No, I don't judge him, I despise him.
It's part of judgment, man. Come on. You despise them because you have judged them to be immoral. And you judge them to be immoral to such a degree that you despise them. So you judge them.
But I don't understand.
So don't say you don't judge people. You judge people like everybody else judges people.
Correct.
Everybody judges people based on their own sense of morality. So when you say that, everybody, they got to answer to their own creator, I'm gonna be honest with you, man, that's some bullshit. Right? Because then you have to say that you believe that everybody's creator, that whoever they say their creator is they exist. So you're saying that every God exists? And then you're saying that everybody's morality exists, and everybody's morality is different. But you judge people based on their morality as it compares to yours.
Some people's morality are destructive. And even though I see everybody ain't real enough to accept their faults.
But you judge them. You still judging them.
You
judging them.
I'm protecting myself.
But you
I'm protecting myself.
Yeah, you judging. There's nothing wrong with judging people. Now, everybody's going to judge everybody. Because of our moral stances in life, there are consequences to those judgments. We do go overboard and give people consequences in situations that they should not receive consequences. But when it comes to things that we know that are detrimental to the community, like pedophiles, we want to put them in jail. We want to bury them. We want to burn them. We want to get rid of them. We want to do all kinds of different things. Everybody got different levels of judgments for them. But then when it comes to people who are same gender loving, as IG like to say, they ain't hurting you. They ain't hurting society. So why are you trying to keep them from having a house or keep them from getting a job and all this other sort of thing? Why back in the day they used to kill them? So that's taking our morality too far. Because when they're not hurting anybody, but if they hurt somebody, they impede somebody's rights to life, liberty, and happiness, But if they're not, we should not give them consequences that we would give to somebody who's actually destructive in life. But we're all judges. All the time. Everybody.
I know that, but I mean, being on his side, and I said what I said, I'm not taking that. Yeah, we judge daily because I got the right to say, okay, I'm not going to put myself right because you're going to make your judgments. But as far as putting someone down or like, I'm not doing it like that, I'm just making my judgment and I'm standing on my own standards. Not because I sound better than you, because your standard may not be my standard, but don't make my standard better or worse than a man who's above or less than me. And I put nobody or above or beneath me. I just say I have a standard. And this is where I stand. And I put no one above me, man. And no one is beneath me.
Yes, they are. Yes, you do. You put them beneath you.
No, I don't.
A pedophile thinks that they doing the right thing, but you put them beneath you.
And they just controlled by a lust.
No, they think that they're doing the right thing.
How would you say something like this?
Because that's what they think.
Inside of a pedophile, put my mind inside of a white man, a woman, a white woman, or even an old person. And I'm a 40-year-old black man. And one of the people I just named, but I can't put myself a damn pedophile man. Whether he's 21 or 41, he's black or white, or him or her. I can't understand their motives. No type of way. And I try to understand a lot of things in life.
Just because you don't understand it for your own self doesn't mean that that person does not think they're doing the right thing, that they're doing something that's okay. Was not Jim Crow? Yeah. And some people think I'm wrong. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, you enlighten people. I mean, some people catch it, some people don't.
But some people will say that some people, Christians have come on and said that I don't know that I'm doing a wrong thing because Satan took my mind. Satan ain't took my mind because Satan don't exist. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm doing the right thing. You see what I'm saying? So a person doing something, oftentimes, 99% of the time, they think that what they are doing is right. They think they're the hero. Slavers thought that they were the hero. Hitler thought that he was the hero. Mussolini thought he was the hero.
And they mad because they walk way of thinking. Because if your intentions are good, your intentions are going to be pure. And to know something you have to have no type of way.
You muffled. You went muffled. But I heard you say that if you're doing the right thing, that your mind is going to be pure. What is purity?
Put me out the box. Put me out the box. Put me out the box. I'm just saying the comments.
Okay. Well, comments ain't gonna last much longer because it's almost 3:30. But I understand that Marion wants to be a good person. He doesn't want to judge people. He doesn't want to put anybody down. I get that. That's been your calling card since you first started coming into the show. And I get that. It's respectable. But there's also some delusion in that. The first delusion is that you don't think that you judge people. That's a bold-faced ass lie. You judge people just like everybody else judges people. You don't think that you put people beneath you. Yes, you do. Because the people you judge harshly, especially the ones that are doing the most damage, you think those people are beneath you because you can't even fathom how their mind could be there. So mentally, they are beneath you, right? It's just a reality. And it's just going to be that. Most people today look at Hitler as the villain. You go back to the 1940s, and shit, you had large portions of America that thought he was the hero, and you still got jokers who think he was the hero. So we judge people all the time, and history determines if we're the villain or the hero of the story, right? But in our day-to-day lives, if you are going to claim that you are this upstanding person, but then you get caught in some bullshit, you are no longer the hero. TD Jakes is no longer the hero. 20 years ago, people thought he was the hero. Now, not so much. That MAGA dude that MAGA pastor who just got accused of sexual assault, he was a hero 3 months ago. He ain't a hero now. And if he's found guilty, he damn sure ain't gonna be the hero. Now we're gonna see him as the victim, as the villain, rather. Because morality is subjective. Everybody has their own version of it. Right? So, and we're not just gonna sit here and let everybody just live their life and be how they want to be. Not if it affects society in a negative way. Not if it affects society in a negative way. We're not doing any of that. Oh, you couldn't hear him? Yeah, he had a lot of background noise. And I got a new mic, and I think I might have to, if it's not loud enough, I might have to move the TikTok close in a different direction, because it's only picking up coming from here. So we'll figure that out. But anyway, it has been 3 hours and 30 minutes. I appreciate everybody for being here. We're about to get the hell off this thing. So once again, I want to thank everybody who showed up for the meetup this weekend. Like I said before, we had a great time. I really enjoyed meeting up with you guys. I ain't gonna lie, I was a bit nervous about meeting up with people for such a long period of time, but we had enough fun things in between talk things that it wasn't it wasn't as got to be on the whole time kind of deal. So it was great. It was great. I really enjoyed our meetup that we had over the weekend. There will be another meetup. I'm talking to a shaman right now about a meetup, maybe in about 6 or 7 months. It'll be a different kind of meetup. Thanks for the rose, Sherry. And there will be, but for a similar meetup to what we just had over this weekend, we are planning one. We looked into some things, so Dwayne kind of put a little bit of it out there as to what decision was made over the weekend. And then I'll put out more information in the coming days, as far as how that meetup is going to go. But I appreciate everybody who showed up. Sherry 1, Sherry 2, y'all were chair dancing extraordinaires, but definitely enjoyable. I enjoyed everybody who was there. It was a great time for everybody who was there. I appreciate it. Got to meet some new people who don't even follow the channel. So the 2 people who brought guests who don't even watch the channel, I appreciate you bringing those people too. They were great. Felt some kind of way for a minute, because the old dude was mean mugging, but then he explained, no. I just I'd be listening intent. And I was like, yeah, okay. I was sitting there. I was talking and he was just had this look on his face. And I was like, damn, is he over there getting pissed off about what I'm saying? But to know me is to know that I will ask the question, like, am I insulting you? Are you mad? Am I pissing you off? Like, what's going on, man? Because you keep looking at me all funny. Oh no. I was just like, oh yeah. Like, in acting when they say you got to smell the fart. So but we had fun. Right. And especially when you get a little, you out in a relaxed environment. I had just as much fun in the relaxed environment as I did when we was having our talks. So everything was great. And everything worked out perfectly. 99.9% of the time. I know the Japanese tea garden, after a while, that bench got a little hard to sit on, but that worked out too. So I had a good spot when we was at the tea garden. If y'all have never been to San Antonio, Japanese tea garden is great. They have 2 names. It's either called Japanese tea garden or Chinese tea garden, because originally it was built by Chinese and then the Japanese came and bought it. So they changed the name of it, but it's a great spot. It's a great tranquil spot to go to. So I look forward to our conversation tomorrow. I'll be making some videos later on today and posting those. So see what time is it? Yeah, I should have time to do it before I go run some more errands. So y'all have a great day, and always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And we are closing out on the show.